Well, thank you all for coming again to continue the conversation that we started last week. Since we have limited time, I know people need to go to clinic and everything. I guess we'll just jump right into it. So the minutes are on that first page. If people can just take a look and let me know if there was anything major that I missed or that I omitted that you felt was important. I do have the audio video file. I'm going to finish looking at it today to add anything else. But if there aren't any changes, then we'll just keep this one for now. Yes. Okay. Are there any comments on that, this abbreviated version of the minutes, and then I'll send around a more complete version?
No.
I guess after, but if people feel like most of the big stuff is covered. Okay. Then the next thing that I want to do is, I know last time we had some questions about accommodations and students that have the special accommodations, how to account for them properly with unannounced quizzes and some of the features of ExamSoft that we now have. So I've asked for Dr. Randy Borst to join us, and also Emily Toller.
Tenny Toller.
Oh,
it's okay. It's
okay.
This is Emily Stein.
I think I'm going to spell it wrong. But they're here from Accommodation Services. Emily is the testing coordinator. And I asked them to join us to sort of help us work through some of the concerns that we talked about last week in terms of unannounced quizzes, what to do with a separate room, you know, if we can do, how can we do the separate room, and also get the students in and out at the same time. So you'll see in the policies, I'll bring it to your attention, number 4 actually, in your ExamSoft best practices for course directors. So we'll just focus on that one. If you just came in, actually Denise incidentally is bringing in new copies. If you don't have double-sided copies, Denise is bringing them. So if you don't have double-sided copies, I guess just wait one moment and she'll bring those in. I can give my copy to someone who doesn't. But anyways, so let's look at that copy, and then I guess we can start just having a discussion about, in general, what we should do about unannounced quizzes and how we want it to be handled. The solution that we talked about last week was preparing the quizzes in advance and then having the students download them all in one time. So that's all the students for the whole semester. If you could, you know, prepare as far in advance as you want, all the quizzes that you want to offer that way. And then let the students download all those things on one date, and then on the date that you want to have the quiz, you
Give them the password.
right, would give them the password and have them start it, and they would start it at as much as possible, try to start it at the same time as before the other students, so that we don't have to adjust, that'll save you from having to adjust any settings for the exam. So now, how many, I know that some of us did use announced, unannounced quizzes, but I guess, do you have a question, Anna? Maybe you can get us started off with.
Yeah, the challenge that I faced is I have unannounced quizzes in my class, and I have 3 students that needed accommodation. Our class is given in Wendy Hall, which is over 10 minutes walk to the dental school, and they have classes back to back from 8 to 12 and from 1 to 5 that day. So meaning if they're to leave the lecture room to come here to the student office where they can have the environment and the extra time, walk back to the class, I'll be almost done by the time that is done, considering the weather factor as well. So how can we accommodate these students without giving them, I know they can come in at earlier that morning and maybe take it before the first class. My class is at 9. There's a class before it and there's a class after it. they can come at 7:30, but that means that I have to tell them ahead of time that you have a quiz, and I'm giving them an added advantage to what they are entitled to. They are entitled to the environment, they are entitled to the extra time, but they're not entitled to that privilege of knowing that there's a surprise quiz as well. So, just a few thoughts. I mean, we're short-staffed, we don't have, you're on your own in the lecture room. These people require the environment, the extra time. You need to provide them with a proctor if they're gonna leave to a different room, and they don't wanna be recognized or identified. So it's putting all these things together, it's sort of impossible for us to accommodate here because of the classes being back-to-back. We don't have big classrooms in our school, so we always giving lectures in other buildings where we don't have any supporting staff.
Before I begin to address your question, I want to thank Athena for the honorary doctoral degree. I don't know what it's in, probably not general medicine. So, but,
Better safe than sorry
so
where I live.
That's
So,
true,
yeah.
that's true. Yeah. Better to, yeah, that's true. Better to award degrees than take them away. Right? Well,
You charge a lot for degrees here, so.
that's another thing that I have in mind. I don't get paid that well. So, returning to seriousness, there's no question that the dental curriculum is a curriculum that is difficult to accommodate. So that needs to be acknowledged. Because really these regulations were written by people who basically have degrees where you read your book and passed your tests and went home about 15 hours a week, right? So not all regulations apply easily to all situations. That said, the fact that you recognize that there is a requirement is a good thing and you're not trying to avoid it. And the only answer that I can come up with for how do you accommodate without having them suffer consequences of accommodation, incidences that are harmful, is to find some alternate way that they can demonstrate to you what you need them to be able to demonstrate to you that they've done in keeping up with their studies without taking the quiz.
If it's a different form of assessment, this can be unfair for them or for the other students if it's not anything different. Even if I come up with different questions, even if I cancel the quiz for them and maybe put more grade, higher, give them,
Sure.
put more bearing for the midterm and the final exam on their grade, this might be unfair for them or for the other students, and it may come against me at one point.
Fairness is a lower standard than reasonable accommodation.
What is that? Oh, okay.
So what I'm saying is that it's going to be unfair to somebody. But fairness is not an escape clause. We just have to be unfair. That's what it takes to accommodate. Because it's unfair to require disabled people to do things that measure their disability instead of measure their skills and knowledge. So that's the government's answer to you.
So what would be an objective direction for us to assume with the parameters of difficulty with our schedules and whatever? What can we do that would be accurate and acceptable from your office and still satisfy our unique difficulties?
It generally starts with what's acceptable to you and the students. And if you come up with a creative solution and you say to the student, here's what we want to do here, and the student says, oh, cool, we'll do that, then we don't care, what you do. It's really none of our business. It's only our business if the student says, oh, boy, they came up with this idea and this isn't working for me and they won't change. They won't even talk to me. That's when we get concerned. So whatever you and the students can work out that is mutually agreeable, and don't be afraid to make them work. I'm not suggesting that you do, but that would be my standard. I'm really not interested in running your business for you.
The only other thing that has come up before with other professors is if accommodations apply to any in-class graded timed assessment. So if it's not graded, then if the tests are not used as graded material for anybody, that, you know, if they're used as more of an assessment of where someone is in the curriculum, how well they're doing. I know someone had mentioned that if they get the answers wrong, it gives them materials to look at in terms of getting the answers right the next time. If it's not used as graded material, then you don't have to accommodate that because it's not counting as a grade for them. And that could be something that you could take into consideration.
They can finish
across
it
the
later at
board.
home or something. And,
Right.
yeah.
Normally they are graded. Anyway, okay, well, that gives us insight. I'm just gonna bring to your attention one idea. It started as a joke, but it seems to be a good idea.
Oh,
The
the
person
best
who
do.
came up with it is in the room, but I'm not gonna.
We'll just let 'em
So,
squirm, right?
if you can probably provide us with a van that has a special accommodation environment, a quiet environment where students, and that if we can arrange with you that that van is outside the building where they are taking where our lecture is, and that van can be there at 9 and providing a nice examination environment, and then they can walk out of the van, walk back into the building and sit in the lecture. I mean, I know it sounds funny, but
No.
it sounds reasonable actually, and that can rotate and service more people. Just wanted to let you know, couldn't think of a
Did
better
that
opportunity.
come from the mobile dental idea? Like, that sounds familiar.
Karen and I were just chatting and down before the meeting began about the fact that Accessibility Resources doesn't have a satellite office on South Campus. And I am not here to defend that lack. I think you know, it's a squeaky wheel thing, and I think if the deans on South Campus just said to the provost, we want a satellite office down here, and the provost got together with student affairs, they could probably work something out. Because we know there are situations where there are students, not only in dental, but architecture is another one of those programs where you're busy all day. You don't have time to be getting on the Stampede and coming up to North Campus to have double time your test and get back on the Stampede or call a cab or whatever it is you do, and take up arguably half a day doing something that everyone else could do in an hour. And you know, these students are being underserved by the university. I don't have the clout to make it happen.
Do you provide different services on the North Campus than we have access to on the South Campus?
You don't have access
Yeah, we
to
don't
it
have
unless
access.
you provide it yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it worked for the financial aid office and it worked for the counseling services, their satellite offices on this campus.
You know, and now we're gonna have downtown. You know, there are medical students and pharmacy students, when they get down there eventually, there are students downtown who are gonna need services too. Not a lot, but, you know, a van is not actually a bad idea.
Exactly.
You know.
Except for that hum might distract students.
Walking around outside was
Yeah.
nice.
Have you wanna
Students
claim the
requested the
idea?
hum, so.
Randy,
Yes, sir.
So it was Dan Emmer's idea, by the way.
one other question. You've been in your office for how many years?
17.
17. The increase in the number of students requesting accommodations is increasing, would be a fair assumption?
That would be a fair assumption. You know, I think our first year here, my first year here, we did under 600 tests in one little room. Now we're doing over 4,000, isn't that right? A
Yeah.
year, an academic
Yeah.
year.
And just in the last couple of
2,700
years, how much
semester.
has it increased?
Exponentially. I would say probably per semester, between 500 and 1,000 tests per.
At least per academic
semester.
year, at least
Yeah.
1,000 a year in the last couple of years. Now, we have gotten increased resources. When I came, I had 3 people, and now I have 8, including myself. We have a tiny bit more space, but we're still very cramped for space and having, in some cases, heated discussions about that. So, you know, consumers rioting do help.
And at which point can we say, I'm sorry, last question, I promise. At which point can we say that perhaps some students with certain accommodation requirements may not be suited to be part of a profession that, you know, handles healthcare. In the case of emergency in the dental chair, in the case, I don't know about
Oh.
medical students, but we need students to be capable to address emergencies as well. So if they need a quiet environment to go to a separate room and think about how am I gonna handle that patient who is crashing in the dental chair.
No one is saying that to you. We're talking about people who do not respond the same to written questions over time. The presumption is you might have a reading disability. That does not prevent you from
Okay.
working with your hands. It does not prevent you to responding to emergencies. These are not people who have generally low, are generally mentally low functioning, right? They're people who, the language processing function is a different function in the brain from the other kinds of environments. So there are specialized things in the brain that turn squiggly characters into written words that integrate with what words we know what they sound like, and get processed in the back of the brain. That's a whole different from thing than looking into a mouth.
Thank you.
So there are 5 or 6 conditions that makes an accommodation unreasonable. We talk about reasonable accommodations. Are there not unreasonable requests? Yes. So I'll give you steps you do not have to do, and these are abstract, I admit. You do not have to lower academic standards for admission into the program, progress through the program, graduation from the program. And I believe that you also have technical standards that are similar to those of the medical school, do you not? You have published technical standards for things that dental students have to be able to accomplish and do?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so for us to recommend something to you that does not meet one of those standards, you do not have to do it. It's best to come back to me and say, hey, that recommendation doesn't meet our standard, so that we can, there may be some other accommodation we can work out. So it doesn't stop the interactive process, but you do not have to lower your standards. You do not have to fundamentally alter the nature or purpose of what you're doing in order to let disabled people participate in it. So, you know, we can change the way you go about things, the way one goes about demonstrating what they know. We can, under certain conditions, the duration, the length of time that it takes to show what you know. However, we don't have to in any way endanger the health or safety of others. So, and there's your situation where someone's in the dental chair. So when you're teaching labs and things where they, you know, when they start working on to use dummies or things, or that they work on models, it would be so if they have an assignment in a lab to work on a model and accomplish something in a certain number of seconds, recognize a problem in a certain length of time, where you're teaching and requiring people to do time-limited tasks. There's no accommodation for that. So, you know, you do not have to. So the university has to accommodate, but patients don't. Patients deserve the same care no matter who their dentist is, and you, the faculty, have unique knowledge and ability to say what those things are. No one, not the government, not my office, no one can say that for you. So so we've got standards, we've got health and safety, fundamental alterations. You do not have to engage in undue financial or administrative burdens. So things like, I don't learn well from lectures because of my language processing thing going on, my auditory processing disorder. I need to come and see you in your office, and you need to go over the lecture for me privately. Oxford, North Carolina. We can help you from there. Somebody's selling something. So, yeah, no undue. I'm sorry. So no undue burdens. Individualized teaching, things that would make you do something that is really not your job. Yes, thank you.
Randy, I'm sorry.
Yes.
This may be an oversimplification, but is it fair to say that accommodations occur on the didactic side, but not on a clinical side?
That would be a quick summary, yeah, that would be a fair guideline, yes, that would. It's funny how you guys can say in one sentence what takes me 5 minutes.
Dr. Garrett gives his hand up to a couple of others.
Please, so yeah, so I could go through some other things, but basically, there are limits to what's reasonable, and we welcome the dialogue. So who else?
Dr. Garrett, and then a little bit Ian.
A suggestion that was originally taken in jest is now sounds very serious, and that was the one of the ban. I just wanted to comment that UB has just implemented the food truck idea, and I saw it for the first time today walking here. It may have been there before, but I didn't walk here the last several days. And one could suggest perhaps a dual use for a truck like that, because it's needed mostly at lunchtime. It sounds like a jest, but I'm semi-serious at least. You know, because the truck is already purchased.
That'd be food for thought.
Thank you.
Food
Good
for
one,
quiz.
George.
Correct
The
answer,
difference is if the
quiz.
food truck makes money and we would be spending it, so.
And then
I
Dr.
have a
Silver.
quick question for Emily. I don't know if, this is more my curiosity than anything, because you mentioned that you test approximately 1,000 students. Out of,
We have approximately, last semester I did about 2,700 exams.
okay, 27. Out of the 2,700, how many got the accommodations?
Out of the actual amount of students that we see each semester,
All of
No,
them.
let's say 2,700 students you tested,
2,700 tests.
2,700.
Tests, which is individual exams by professors.
Oh, they weren't
Okay,
taking
no, no, no,
tests
no,
in
no,
to
no.
see if they needed
Yeah,
accommodations,
exactly.
they
That
already
was-
had it, they
yeah.
were.
Yeah,
Right.
we
Sorry.
don't test, we don't do that.
Yeah,
yeah,
we don't diagnose.
Then I misunderstood.
Yeah, all diagnosis is third party.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then,
Great.
that's a good question.
Denise?
I pretty much work with the majority of the pre-doc students here with testing accommodations. And we installed a camera in our conference room, which has helped a lot because previous to that I would sit in the room with the students almost daily. And is that okay to just have the
Yes.
camera? I have it
Yes.
installed on my computer in my office.
Yep.
And I just want to make sure security-wise that
As
we
long
are
as
in
there's no audio.
compliance. Yeah, there is no audio.
Yep, we do it too.
Yeah, we have cameras in
Yep.
our proctoring rooms
Okay,
too.
okay. And setting up a student in somebody's office by themselves, what are your thoughts
As
on
long-
that?
I think that that's fine.
Okay.
We do that in our office too sometimes. As long as it's not a situation where there's a lot of people coming in and out, if there's like a receptionist
Phones
answering the
ringing.
phone and things like that.
Okay.
And if the student seems comfortable with it,
Okay,
hopefully they would tell you if they weren't,
They-
but
yeah.
yeah,
okay, great,
that's
thanks.
good.
I have two other questions. I don't know if anyone else wants to comment. Has questions before? I just wondered, for my own information, is there any research on paper-based versus computing tests that are administered on a computer for students with accommodations? Or is there one that works better, like where their performance is higher? Do we know any of that yet?
As far as I know, there's not much research out there. Because it's so individualized with each student and each disability, we do have students who have accommodations to use a computer that reads the test out loud to them, for example. If they have some sort of disability where reading text is not the way they best process information. So it would depend on the individual student, so it would be difficult for them to research that as a whole of people with disabilities.
So, Athena,
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
thank
but
you
if
for
I
that.
can follow up on that question. So in that situation, is it okay if the students with the special accommodations take the same quiz, but on a paper, and the rest of the class is taking it on the computer? Is that reasonable?
If that's.
It could be.
Yeah, it could be.
But they don't wanna be identified. I mean, I ran into that problem last year, because my accommodation was take the paper, keep it longer, I said then people would notice that
You know, they are entitled to confidentiality, they are not entitled to anonymity. So, you know, we're not going into their medical records and exposing their private information to other students. But if they want accommodations and there's no way to do it without someone seeing, sorry.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's
Well,
very,
that's
good.
that's
That's
very
very
good.
good.
Yeah, and can we assume that they know of each other, like we have 3 in their class, it's okay, they know about each other, right?
Yes,
so they know.
Not
Yeah,
necessarily. I mean,
yeah,
they
yeah,
know
'cause
each
they-
other because you're so small.
Because they would come,
Yeah.
they would come to our office and see each other, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that isn't, that's just like if you're at a medical office and the medical assistant comes out and says, you know, Randy Borst, the doctor will see you now. That somebody heard my name, doesn't violate, you know, so these things are just incidental.
And actually following the same line of thinking in terms of paper and computerized testing, I had a conversation with Dr. Zambon that really kind of got me thinking, because Dr. Zambon has a tendency to do that. Have that effect on me. But so could a student with an accommodation who is taking like the test on paper say that they were at a disadvantage because students who have a computer are able to enlarge images and view the images differently, where on paper it's flat, it's black and white, you know?
They could, there's a potential for that.
If it was image-based,
Mhm.
I would say
Yeah.
maybe.
A lot of it is visual, so if I show a picture of a disease, it'll look better on a computer screen than it will if I
Yeah.
print it out.
Yeah, so that wouldn't be equal then, yeah.
They don't have to read the question.
I printed them like color on a single sheet, you know, for the paper ones, just so they,
Oh, that
because I usually project, or I did in the past, I projected so that they'd have a nice image, because.
I mean, I guess a solution to that could be that they have both a paper copy and the computer, where they could, if they're actually writing their answers on the paper copy, but they have access to the images to be able to make them bigger if that's what everyone else is doing. We do have students who use computers to take their tests, to have them read out loud to them, but then they answer on the paper copies. So that might be the only thing that came to mind when someone mentioned paper versus computer copy in the classroom would be that if they have distraction reduced setting as one of their accommodations, and you're telling them they have to do it in the classroom, if they're okay with that, then that's fine. If there's an interactive process between the professor and the student saying that, you know, I'd rather have the extended time than the distraction reduced setting. But if they need the distraction reduced setting as well, having a paper copy in the classroom won't necessarily be their full accommodation.
But often people will need a distraction reduced setting for a major test.
Right.
But for a quiz, they might be okay.
Yeah.
Some people who need extra time might be okay if it's a short quiz where you really do give adequate time to folks to finish. You know, maybe instead of, if it's a 5-minute quiz, maybe if you gave everybody 7 minutes, that might do it. You know.
Because I have some students that come up weekly for maybe like a 3 or 5 question quiz.
Mhm.
And honestly, they're never taking the full time that they need.
Sure.
So it's sometimes, I mean, I know we have to give them that accommodation, but sometimes it just seems,
You know,
Silly,
you
yeah.
can ask them and say, look, this is a few questions, you're always finishing on time. Could you really, realistically, could you do it in the class? You can
And the
ask
answer is
that.
no.
It's
You can
okay.
ask
it
that.
is no,
It's
yeah, I've
okay.
asked.
The
I've
answer
asked.
no, I tried that.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
like
they
for them,
say-
want-
for
yeah.
them,
This-
for them, their individualized disability may be that it's the distractions around them that is the issue rather than the
Rather than the
timing.
time, yeah.
Right, right. That's why it's so
The other piece
individual.
is that, you know, let's be honest, because you folks know scientific standards. These accommodations that we arrange are, scientific is not the standard. The standard is you're making a reasonable response to a reasonable request. That doesn't mean that it can't be discussed and worked on, you know. Where we run into problems is flat denial, you know, where we run into, but we don't run into problems by saying, look, this is difficult, I propose an alternative, so that it's an interactive process. And as long as we're doing things interactively and listening to what the student says and asking them to be flexible, we would, you know, we think that's the way to go. But you find sometimes they just dig in and.
They're absolutely
Yeah,
not
yeah.
flexible.
Yeah.
Majority of them, with my experience, were flexible.
Uh-huh.
And
But you
everything
find-
was going smoothly up to a certain year.
Yeah.
When one student was not flexible, and everybody followed the example after that.
Oh, sure, yep.
And it was not flexible to the point that if it's here, it's here. Okay?
Yeah, yep, I could just about
And
name them.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
Any other questions regarding accommodations or how we might do things better there? I'm really glad that you came. I appreciate the discussion, and you're welcome to stay if you would like to hear about the rest of the things that we're doing.
I think, well, we, being our first week of classes, we've got it lined up
You've
out
got-
the
yes,
hall.
I know.
So if-
I know.
If you don't mind, we'll scurry on.
Okay.
Thank you.
I really
so much.
appreciate
Thank you for
your
having
coming.
us.
Thank you
We
very
really
much.
appreciate it.
Thank
You're
you.
one of the few faculties that let us in, and we hope we come respectfully.
Thank you.
Reasonably accommodate you.
Appreciate that.
Okay, so,
Take care.
so the rest of the handouts, I think I'd like to go through one by one real quick. There's 2 documents in here. The first is just for course directors, so we can look through that. These are, again, some things that that were culled from the other documents that we looked at. I had subsequent phone calls with some of the schools about their policies, the 2 in particular that we looked at. And so I have a little more feedback there. And then the other document is for students. So students will only see the official policy. They're not gonna see the guidelines that we have for you. So I just wanna make that clear.
Question, when you go on with your training sessions for ExamSoft, are you going to incorporate some of these items into the training sessions?
Yes.
So that will be very
Yes, yes, absolutely.
I could never make it in time.
Yeah, it's okay.
I think I'll come in when you figured it all out.
Oh, yes, absolutely, yep. So, okay, so the first item, if we just go through the course directors, first of all, I don't know, did people have a few minutes to read it or not so much? I think it's better if we just go through it, okay. So the first thing is just confirming with me if you want troubleshooting during quizzes and exams. You know, for quizzes, what I have found from other schools is that faculty feel pretty comfortable if they do 3 quizzes and if they're then gonna constantly quiz after that. But if you're not, if you only have like 2 or 3 quizzes and then you go to a, a midterm or a final and things are spaced, in a way that you're not comfortable with, and, of course we'd be happy to come if you need us there. Probably just due to the volume of exams that we have right around like midterm and final time, it's probably either going to be Dan or I. But I'll keep a schedule and then I'll inform Dan, and we'll arrange that between the 2 of us. Okay. And then the one quiz number 2 is administering 1 quiz before giving a high stakes exam. Well, a high stakes exam would be like a midterm and a final. Was what I was thinking there, and a quiz is a little lower, I guess you could say lower stakes, you could argue about that. But so the main item here is that people may have different ways of using the features. And so I want to make sure that if a student hasn't come across this particular feature, for example, like I have here, limiting characters in a text field response. There is, a place in ExamSoft where students see that, but if they haven't seen that before, on a regular basis, if no one else is particularly using that feature, then it's sort of like out of sight, out of mind for the students. Even though we have the mock exam that will have all the types of formats in it, it's just that because they haven't been using it repeatedly yet, they won't know what to do. Their screen, they'll type some words in and they'll say, oh, my keyboard's stopping because it's reached, it's frozen and they think something is wrong. So that's what we've observed so far. I don't know, Dan, do you if you want to chime in at any time, just let me know. But so that's what we've experienced, at least with some of the exams now. So before you're doing a midterm or a final, it would be good to just give them a couple of questions. They don't have to be questions on your topic. They just have to be questions that use the same features that you are planning to utilize for your exam. So, complex matching, if you're doing something, really challenging there. Dr. Maggio just approached me about having scenarios in his exams. He wants them grouped, but then he wants, something more complex, kind of. So what I'd want to do is release something in that way so that students, could get used to the pattern of taking it that way. And then there's the the little statement there just about characters and symbols, if you import questions that have characters or symbols, then you'll need to check them in ExamSoft because the symbol doesn't come over. You'll have to use the symbol feature in the actual ExamSoft tool, question rating tool.
You like greater than, less than, like that?
Yes, yeah. I actually haven't tried greater than or less than. That might come in because it's so easy.
Those probably will, but
Yeah.
there are things like, you know, when you paste quotation marks from Microsoft Word, you might get a funky character instead. Things like percentage signs, italics, boldface may not carry over if you're doing imports.
Right. Okay. Any questions or comments about that? Most of you who are currently using it have been able to I think, do that to a very good extent. You know, go through a couple of quizzes first. For fill in the blanks, the interface has an interesting, you know, it puts brackets next to each blank that you have, or each, you know, each time you want to insert a blank, it basically does this. So if you had a fill in the blank word that was 2 words, say there was other question text here and other question text here, it just puts that 1 in there. It doesn't actually draw the line. So students are able to recognize this better with these 2 items together. So what we're suggesting is that you put the line in because it gives the students a visual indicator and it reads like, oh, that's a fill in the blank question because I see there's a space there for me to enter something in versus I only see the number.
You put in the underlined text and then it puts in the brackets.
Yes.
And then when the student comes to type, they're typing in the bracket.
No, when a student comes to type their answer, they're actually typing in a text field below this. But they see that, oh, this is answer number 1.
Okay.
So then they type in the text field here. And some of this you may not know if you know if you haven't done fill in the blank questions, but I feel like we're at about half and half in terms of how many people have used it so far and have found that. Any questions about that, about the fill in the blank questions? And again, you know, when you start doing questions, I know you'll have more questions, I'm sure, for me too. Okay, now we just went over the accommodations. So that particular paragraph, as much as possible, I guess, we'd like to encourage the students to take the exams on laptops unless they come to you and request paper or something else. And then you might need to have a conversation with the student. We'd be certainly fine to administer paper copies. You know, that's certainly an option, but what they're gonna miss out on is later when we do their reports, their information won't be entered electronically, and so they won't actually have a student report copy of anything that is generated. Everyone else will receive that because they will have taken the exam electronically. So that's one consideration. And if you get to that point, then you can come in and talk with me and the student together, or you know, we can arrange for a discussion about that. You know, I think it's
So
going to
if
be
they
individual.
are, if we do take their advice and let's say they have time and a half accommodation and they come across the hall to begin 25 minutes before the rest of the class, if it's a 50-minute, 50-minute class.
Right.
So somehow in ExamSoft you can say these 3 students are allowed to start early.
What it says is these two students are allowed 100%, 150% time, or 200% time.
Yeah.
So for any quiz or any exam that you set, it automatically takes the time component with it.
Right,
calculates it.
but what the recommendation is here is that they start before the rest of the class so everybody finishes at the same upload time.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
So how does the system know that this student can start?
Because you have a password and you give us the password as the proctor, I'm sorry, yes.
As soon as they get the password.
Yep.
Stupid question.
No, not at all, I didn't, it wasn't written in there. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So, I was gonna ask Randy this question and then I forgot asking it because I wasn't sure how people feel about this. But typically the students that have accommodations are not students, are students that are concerned about getting their accommodation. They're not really concerned about cheating. That's been my experience too when we've had them in the room. But now, of course, we have the camera, so we have that extra step. But because ExamSoft offers us the capability to have a snapshot view of where students are in the exam and how they're navigating and how long they're spending on a question and if they're going back to a question. It really gives us like a whole bird's eye view of the whole exam. So if we suspected that students were cheating, students with accommodations were cheating, the ones that were in a room sort of on their own, then we could probably identify that just by the software, by the timestamps on questions and seeing if they all, went to things at the same time and changed answers. So I wanted to know how people felt about if you have a 7:30 exam. Of course, you wanted to show up needed to show up at 7 o'clock or something with these students, or you were going to do that. Then how would you feel about beginning the exam with them in a different room and then walking over to your main room where all the rest of your students are and letting them finish the exam in progress, like on their own?
As you know, I've done it for the last 10 years, and I will never do it any other way. In other words, the special accommodation students start half an hour early or an hour early, whatever.
Right.
I always bribe other faculty that somebody is with them, but I do start every single exam. I walk to the room where the rest of the class is waiting for me.
Okay. So you arrange to have a proctor?
Yep.
Which
Always.
is the best, it's the best circumstance if you can do it.
As Denise
Absolutely.
knows, I never bother her, because that's the way it is done, and that's the way it will be till I quit.
But I think the question is, do you walk those students over to their normal classroom?
I do that for the quizzes. In other words, the accommodations for the quizzes always were, because my situation is a little bit different than Dana, and her situation is much tougher than mine. For the last few years, my class is at 8, and since one certain student, nobody ever asked for the accommodation for the quizzes, and life was good. Student asked for the accommodation for the quizzes, I had to provide them, which I respect. So the students take a quiz in the conference room next to my office at 7:30. We walk together to the classroom. They sit in the first row with no permission of any opening computer, with no permission of taking anything from the backpack, till the class is done with the quiz and they cannot talk to anybody.
So they have finished their quiz?
They finish the quiz on the paper, I pick the quiz up.
Oh, no,
No
that's
cell
right, I got
phones.
the impression that you were stopping midstream and then.
Oh, no. No.
And we do the same thing with our students. It works, fine.
Yes, you get up early, but.
But they're all announced then.
Oh, yes, that's why I said my life is easier,
Yeah.
because they know it, that the quiz is,
Right.
every single class we have the lecture, we
Yeah.
start with the quiz, every single one. So it's not advantage, disadvantage, everybody's in the same boat.
That's a good point, though, what about unannounced quizzes where?
That's what Dana has a problem with.
Yeah.
After she had, she just woke up.
Yeah, I've worked with Dr. Koblawi on that. We came up with the best we could. She gave me the dates of the unannounced quizzes.
Okay.
And then I found an alternate room in Wendy, because her class is in Wendy 114, and it's sandwiched between Dr. Zambon's and Dr. Bradford. So we didn't have time to come in early or anything like that. So what she does is the students that have accommodations, they show up to class that morning, and then Dr. Koblawi will say, there's an unannounced quiz. The 3 students will meet me in the hallway. We'll walk to Wendy, the alternate room, together. I sit in there for the 10 minutes, and then they go back to class. And that's how we've been able to do it.
Okay.
She emails me the password the day before because it's on ExamSoft. But that's the only way we could with her class, because it is sandwiched between, 2 other courses, so.
But then they're identified.
They already are, just like Randy mentioned, I mean,
They're not.
yeah,
They know
they're
they
not,
don't go-
they
I
all
don't really
know
complain
at this
about it.
point,
They
they're in
know
their
it.
3rd year,
Right,
yeah.
and several years ago, I had a student with a real concern, I don't want anyone,
Mhm.
and I talked to Randy, and he
Mhm.
said exactly what he said today.
Right,
We absolutely cannot guarantee anonymity, and they
Right.
need to understand that. And I
right.
think most of them do, but, I mean,
Did you resolve it? Were you able to resolve it, David?
I had that discussion with the student, and I said, this is coming directly from Randy. I mean, she wasn't happy about it, but, I mean, oh well. I
Right.
mean,
Right,
At the end of the day, he talks about reasonable, and
right.
what's reasonable, what's not reasonable.
Most of them are pretty good.
Right, I
It's
agree,
like-
most are.
Yeah.
I was trying to be very confidential with it, and they said, no, everybody knows.
Yeah, well, they do, because they're getting up in class, they're
Yeah,
coming in a little
right.
bit later, so.
Right.
But it's the same thing even with the students that fail a course. You know, like we might have 5, 6, 7 students fail gross anatomy, so they're all gonna take the remediation together and take the exam together. When I tell them we're gonna provide a tutor, they say, I want private tutoring because I don't want anybody else to know that I failed, and I said, we cannot do that. You're gonna take the exam the same day with Dr. Kaliga, you're gonna know each other, so, I mean, they don't want anybody to know anything,
Right. Wow.
so, but we cannot do that.
No, it's not reasonable. Okay. Okay, so any other, I guess, comments about that before we move on to number 5, when you're actually making the assessment? So when you're posting your assessment, we're asking that you put it in a format like this with the course number, your last name, and the quiz number. Otherwise, it sort of appears generically to the student, like quiz number 1, and they might see like, 100 quiz number 1s in there. So just making that adjustment will make it more clear for everyone which ones they've downloaded and whose they were. Okay. The other item there to be aware of is when you're posting an exam, all of you have the ability to post, and so there's nothing from preventing you from posting an exam in someone else's course. So when you go to post.
There's a surprise.
Yes, yes. So, boy, I thought, Dan thought, that's gotta be a glitch. You better call them right away. Do they know that that's happening? Like somebody else can post in someone else's exam? But in fact, that's the intended use of the software. There's, so.
I think that would be a fabulous outcomes assessment. Because we talked about testing the students at the end of the year or the end
Yes.
of 4 years. I think that would be good.
We could jump over.
You just drop in different testing exams and see what do you really know without cramming for it the night before.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
I have to say, I've talked to other schools that have some of them have staff enter all the exams just for that reason. They said, we didn't want there to be a problem, and we didn't want people to say that it was an error in the software. So that's why, especially like for high stakes exams, I thought that was interesting. So just be aware and look for, everyone starts, because the information is synced with Blackboard and it's brought in from Blackboard, it all starts with that 2149 for being the fall semester, and then you get to your, PER 864 or whatever it is. So just be mindful of that and double check it. And if you want, we'd be happy to double check your settings. And certainly by no means should you post on your own the first time. We want to be with you and walk you through the screens just to make sure. If you want us to be, just to make sure. So then number 6 is about the time limit. Each exam needs to be set at 5 minutes before the end of the assigned time. This isn't really the case for final exams, it's more the case for quizzes, because for final exams usually they have from 9 to 11. And I don't know if the students use the full amount of time for your exams.
Are you for real?
I mean, do they? Yeah. Oh,
You
yeah.
can take your retirement account. I can make you the list of the student who will stay there until 10:59.
Well, yeah.
59.
So,
1 or 2.
So actually, that's a good point for future concerns, because we always have problems getting rooms. If you think students really only need 1 hour for your exam, if it's really 1 minute, a question, or if you've, allowed 2 minutes for a more complex question, then maybe we shouldn't schedule for 2-hour blocks for our final exams. That's just something for us to think about later, but I just want to put it out there because it's so hard to get the rooms, and some places have their own testing rooms and centers where these things are occurring, so they're in a more controlled setting than we are. We have to have those, the amphitheater seating sometimes in Diefendorf and things like that, and we don't really have a lot of controls. So, if that might be something that we could consider trying. If people are open to it, we're certainly open to doing it. So
you would have
so
no
let's,
problems. I give 2 exams.
Mm-hmm.
The first exam is 50 minutes in the middle of the semester.
Yeah.
The second exam covers the next 7 lectures.
Mm-hmm.
Why, I've always wondered, why does that get the benefit of an additional hour
yeah.
when it's the same 50 questions and the same number of lectures?
You don't have to. You don't have to. It's
We won't
nowhere
be
in
doing
anything.
that any longer, Denise.
It's no, or maybe you have to make your questions a little more difficult, Dr. Hall. I don't know. If you want them to take the full hour, I don't know, but you've been administering them for a long time, so you know what the pattern is kind of with your exams. So, you know.
Somebody who takes 20 minutes and somebody who takes,
Yes.
until you kick them out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But that's the nice part about this exam, so it will kick them out.
Yes, it will kick them out, right, after the time.
But if you wonder for some reason why all of a sudden you realize that 45 minutes was not enough for so something happened.
Right.
Then what can you do with the system?
You
modify
can,
it?
you can.
Let's say they got sick for the exam for 5 minutes or whatever.
Oh, they got, no, yeah, there's no sickness, no food, no drink,
No, they-
no leaving the room while there's an exam. I put that in here just
Well, I
to,
mean,
you know.
things can happen.
Well,
And what happens then?
I mean, in the worst case scenario, it'll automatically save the students' questions. It saves every 60 seconds, and then it does a hard backup after 10 minutes, I think. So wherever the student peters out of it, you know, or walks away, that's a decision I think you should make after the exam. I don't think you should do anything right then, because we can always do something. And if you felt like the student was really sick, or, you know, something happened, you know, we would always do something else. But you know, I don't know, Dan, do you have any?
Give them a separate.
You can, I mean, you can extend it just for them. What we'd like to have is a problem room, you know, sort of off to the side where your exam is going to be, where you can send anyone that's having a problem. So I don't know what they usually do when they come down to tell you. How do they usually tell you that, like, I'm sick, I need to leave? Do they bring all their stuff with them when they come to tell you, or do they come down and tell you that, hey, I have a problem, I need to go, and leave their stuff and then come back? So, you know, I mean, we can say, you know, close your computers if you know, if you have something, but I'd rather not put it in here. I don't know how you all feel about that. I'd rather not put it in there and see what happens. I think that will very rarely happen, where someone will need to, you know, and then
be prepared for it.
Right, and then we can make a decision. It's probably going to be what, like maybe 1%.
Oh, yeah,
Less probably on it, yeah. So this is more for the, you know, the broader guidelines. And then we can see, you know, as I said, this is going to be a learning process this year for us. So we'll see how it goes after fall semester. Maybe there's things that we want to add or, you know, or change for the spring. Okay, so number 6, posting the time limit. So, so that's the one where I was saying we want to allow the extra 5 minutes. So we want to be mindful if we do post exams. If we do go to that 1 hour format, then we just want to be mindful of that and allow 5 minutes for students to actually upload the exam. So we don't want to make the exam 50 minutes. We want to make it 45, for example, and give 5 minutes for them to upload it.
What is involved in that uploading? Is it mainly just churning in the background?
Really just connecting to the internet. Yeah, it probably takes about, you know, it doesn't take longer than a minute. It feels like forever when you're staring at someone's screen and waiting for this green congratulations screen to come up.
Yeah, it's an automatic process.
Yeah.
It just takes a little while, and you don't want everyone to be sitting there with their computers still open while the next class is trying to get in.
And for quizzes, you know, you can set your own sort of guidelines for quizzes if you want to give more time, you know, for students to be able to upload, because again, that is one benefit of the system. And for people who are in Wendy and who are in rooms that are not as don't have the what do I want to say, the bandwidth of, you know, the power to actually always connect to the internet whenever we want them to, then you can allow more time for the students to upload the exam, because after they've completed the exam, it's really done, it's locked, and they don't have access to it. There's no other really way for them to tamper with it or do anything. And if they do something that could be construed as tampering, if they touch the document or, you know, try to open it, I get an email that says, hey, this person tried to, we're notifying you that this person tried to do something that, you know, they were not appropriate with. So I would know about it. And then, you know, I would come and tell you, and then we would, I don't know, drag the student to the SPPC or something.
So in the case of,
So.
in the case of a quiz, and so now things are uploading, but you want to get on with the rest of class, while things are uploading on their computer, can they turn to the U-Learns for your slides for that class, or are they still locked out?
Well, once they close the exam, they've, even if they haven't uploaded, it'll, well, I don't know, Dan, do you want to maybe address this a little more succinctly?
Yeah, students should reconnect to the internet immediately after exiting the soft test, and the upload probably happen automatically. But even if the upload fails, as long as they're reconnected to the internet, they can get back to TV Learns. Now, in the case of a short quiz, you could also choose to use a non-secure mode, so that their internet access never gets cut off, so it's quicker to start and quicker to exit. So if you only want to spend 5 minutes on your quiz, and you're willing to sacrifice the security, use non-secure mode, you're less likely to have students have problems.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's an option, but, I guess we would know from the time, if they decided not to upload then, yeah, they would be able to, if that was a concern, to be aware of.
But do you know separately when they closed it and when they uploaded it?
Yes, when they,
Yeah, the
yes,
log
it
file-
says
log
closed,
file
right?
Log file has details on
Yes.
exactly when they finish answering questions. I just uploaded a quiz for a student yesterday from May 30th. And looked at the log file and it hasn't been touched since 8:09 a.m. on May 30th.
Yeah.
So it's still perfectly valid.
It's pretty,
Was that with ExamSoft or with your system?
Oh, that was ExamSoft.
Okay.
so number 7, faculty should preview their exam using the preview feature in the assessment before posting it for students. Again, there's that little warning about character functions. And then, so what's involved with that would be that the faculty side of the interface is ExamSoft, but for the students, it's Soft Test. That's the application in which they take the tests. So in effect, what you'll be doing is, it'll take you through the steps of like having Soft Test on your computer, and you'll be able to go through the exam. And take it like a student would take it. So you could navigate around in there just the exact same way that a student would. You could see the time limits, you could see that your character settings for fields are all there. I mean, you would just be able to take it like a student. So that's the benefit of the preview. And also, you would be able to see how it is before you post. You can also print the exam out too. I want to point that out at any time. You can print it in draft mode or in post mode. So you can always, have a copy and see what it looks like. Okay, I don't have a copy that has an 8 on it, let me see. Let's give it a face. Okay, so when posting, let's see, go over here.
And then here it says they have a 10-minute upload deadline. So that means that if we give it a 45-minute exam and 5 minutes to load, that's really 1 whole hour.
Yes, it's 50 minutes. I mean, this is only, again, for final exam, like for,
Right.
yeah.
I'm saying that's 60 minutes.
Right.
So they're in that room for someone else to come into the room.
Right then.
You got it for the whole hour, right?
Yeah, yep. I mean, so that's a decision, I mean, we talked about this a little bit before the last time. I think what we want to do is have the same, if we were still having paper, we would expect that the student would submit their exam before they left the room. So we don't wanna introduce something different in that regard, I don't think. I don't know how people feel about it, but with this, you don't have to make people show you the green screen, because you can tell exactly when they're uploading it. So you would have some leeway there if you wanted it, but I don't know if we want to do that now. I don't know what people think, but my feeling is, just talking with other schools, that they say it's just have the student do it right then. Then there's no, there's no argument, there's no nothing, after the fact, or, then the faculty member doesn't have to monitor it and do anything extra. They just know that all the exams were taken, they're all in. And so their suggestion to us was to include it this way. So we can see after.
We'll try and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, again, that is a benefit of the software. You can always, especially if you're the only person in the room. I think some of these policies were designed, with folks that have more proctors or testing centers, so they're a little different. And I know we can't always get them. So if it's going to be 2 people in the room or 1 person, maybe halfway through the exam, you want 1 person at the door to be checking for green screens as students leave. Some of the rooms too, I could tell when reading the documents that they sent me, have only 1 entrance and exit to a room. I mean, we don't, we don't have that here, so I don't know if we want to say everyone's going to go down, exit here. I mean, we'll just have to see that, those first few exams, we'll be, you know, watching everyone like hawks in there, just to see kind of how, you know, what happens and how things go. But we did have one final exam. Dr. Zambon had his second year exam for the perio class that begins in the early fall and then ends. And I don't know if you want to comment about that, but from what we saw in the records and from being there, it worked out pretty well in Wendy with the two of those.
I used to set the upload time for a day later. I've still got 2 students who haven't uploaded quizzes from like 3 weeks ago. So it would be better if they uploaded it, you know, right then.
But they can no longer work on the quiz.
They cannot.
Right.
They can't, yeah. I mean, they can't work on the quiz. And again, anything they do, you can see in the log. It's kind of amazing what you can see in the log. You can see how much time they spent on an individual question, which was much less than I thought they spent. So, yeah, the software shows you everything. There's really nowhere for the students to hide anything, you know, anything that they're doing.
Yeah.
We did all of these things. Athena didn't give me credit, but all of the best practices are based on mistakes that I've made.
Yeah, some of the ones that I added in were things that we learned, yes. I thought we said confidentiality, not in. Okay, so then, let's see, where are we? Okay. So then, let's see, so again, this is, number 8 is all about the setting the assessment when you're ready to post it. These are all things that you'll see on that screen when you come to that screen if you're not familiar with them. So we can go through them now. I don't know if people who haven't had ExamSoft experience have any questions or how they read. That'd be good for me to know if things didn't read clearly.
So, I have a question. So this download in 10 minutes after the start of the exam. And if the students know that, or it becomes known.
Right.
Some
Yeah.
best practices for some schools were download the night before.
Yes.
So that if there was a problem with the download, it could be addressed before the test or the quiz.
Right.
This was the idea that you'll have 1 or 2 students who won't have downloaded it. So they can come into the test and then they can download it. And we've had that. We had that on Tuesday. There was 1 student who didn't download it because he had a problem with his computer. It probably wasn't his fault. So if you leave the download deadline for 10 minutes after, then students who haven't downloaded it will have a chance to download it while the other students are taking the quiz. Now that puts everybody out of sync, you know, so they're downloading while people are taking it. So that's not good, but that's what some schools do. Against other schools require them to download it the night before.
And again, we would be able to see when the student downloaded it in the record anyways. So if we saw, when I look at the records, I can see that,
Tufts University was
very
remarkably punitive.
Yes.
Yes. For anything that would have missed that they construed as being the student's fault, there would be a 5, 10, or 15-point deduction on the exam.
Yes. Or an honor code violation that would go to like their progress and promotions committee.
They actually have students who do things that they're their fault.
And then you can look at their document and tell what's going on. So they would have students say, the subway was late. So then they write a statement, if the subway is late, we'll let you go the first time, not the second.
Yes.
So you can tell all of these things have come up that they've drafted rules about.
The one thing I will say.
But in that case, I think my knee-jerk reaction would be, I got stuck in traffic, or there was an accident or something like that on the Youngman, and they come in, they haven't uploaded yet. My knee-jerk reaction would be to say, here's a paper copy of the exam, sit down,
Yes.
let's get going.
Yeah.
And you have to end by the time everybody else.
But you remember, part of the deal with this is that you categorize questions, and then you can give them a report. So you're weak on diagnosis based on, so if you do a paper thing, then at least I haven't figured out a way how to enter that stuff into the system so that you get the same kind of report.
Yeah, well, I'm not real concerned about a student who.
If they're not concerned, right.
Getting that kind of report back if they haven't organized their life properly.
But this kind of ties into the other things we need to be doing for accreditation, which is learning plans.
Yeah.
Yes.
Always
I know.
yes.
It's like the woman that was, sentenced, yesterday, the day before, for killing her daughter in Amherst, and everything was everybody else's fault.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So nobody has yet said the dog ate my exams.
I haven't heard that yet. We were talking about this,
Yeah.
we're talking about this in terms of, vital source and previous testing. I used to get that. The computer changed my answer. I used to hear that all the time. I want to see the printout because I'm sure I put this down and the computer changed I haven't heard that, with this. I think things have just kind of progressed beyond that.
And with this software, you could call up the log file and say, oh, you changed your answer. 8:07 and 14 seconds.
Hub changed my grades. It really did. I don't use Hub for grading.
The one item that I do want to point out here is the 48 hours. It's G, letter G on number 8. Post quizzes and exams at least 48 hours before the scheduled exam date. The 48-hour period should include at least one business day. That's important. I think especially this first semester to give more time rather than less time, and give the recommended minimum of at least 48 hours and have it be a business day too, just in case they have a problem over the weekend, or there's a problem and they need to get to someone and they can't. Now the ExamSoft support desk is open, so they can call, their hours are, I want to say, is it 8 to, I haven't memorized their hours, but and I think they start at 8. Say they're 7 or 8 in the morning, and they go until, I want to say, 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. on weekdays. Saturdays they have hours, but the last time I checked, they didn't have Sunday hours. So that's the reason why we want to add the extra, give them the extra business day.
Well, and with the business day, then they can collar you or Emmett or somebody.
Right.
Which should avoid this 10 minutes after the exam.
Yeah. If
The
they,
exam starts.
right, if they need to. The problem is too that we want to, as much as possible, direct students to the support line at ExamSoft, because now we have students coming in with their own hardware. We have prerequisites and things that we tell them to do, but they don't all have the exact same hardware anymore, like some of these classes coming on. So we want to make sure that someone that's really able to help them, that's familiar, that takes thousands of these questions all the time, can take care of it. And their support materials are really good. We've made them available to the students, but I'm gonna sort of ad nauseum show them again. And I actually want to show them that snapshot feature. I want to show them I'll redact the name, but I just want to show them exactly what we can see, because I think when they know the level at which we're able to inspect their quiz and dissect their every movement, I think that I would hope that would have some impact in a student's decision, like if they were going to cheat or do something. Somebody else told me something I would never think of, too, which I guess we'll get to it in the document, so I'll wait till we get to it, but it was about assigned seating in a room. So I'll wait till we get there, we're almost there. So any questions or concerns about that? And again, if you need help like uploading your questions, we'd be happy to do that for you. We just need them a couple of days in advance. If we had a week, that would be like the best case scenario, but I understand people are still trying to get accustomed to planning things way in advance and having their exams ready and things like that, but way before. So even, probably 2 days before is gonna be enough for us to figure it out. By that point, we're pretty much, I feel like we're almost experts in doing it now, like just uploading stuff, but it's to allow you the chance to preview the questions and go through things the way that you would want to also. Okay, so that brings us to item 9. Have at least one copy of the exam in hard copy. If there's a problem that can't be fixed, just allow the student, again, to take the hard copy exam. And again, you won't need to go with 10, you'll probably need to go with like 2 copies. So, and the reason is because students, at least the third year students, the second year students are using it on a regular basis too. The first year students will start using it next week in Dr. Bush's course. We haven't got a lot of basic science faculty that have come on this first semester. They're still, I think, deciding. We will have courses in the second semester. Physiology is very interested in using it, and so that's great because they have 6, they do their exams every block sort of, so the students will have 6 exams there too at the same time.
I used it my first year class, didn't really have serious trouble.
Yeah. That's what we found usually, but, you know, by the second or third time, then you're more comfortable with it too. And then again, you'll forget everything by the next semester, and then, you know, we'll help you again. It's no problem. Okay, so, let's see. Have at least one copy, then work after the exam to find out what the problem was. You know, Dan and I can also look to see what the problem was with the student. So if there is a problem, you don't have to deal with it right then. I don't even like any, I mean, I don't like any questions or any exam or anything. I just want it quiet. I want students taking exams, period. And I wouldn't tolerate that, so I don't expect that you would. If it's the student's fault, then we could just say, instead of saying 5, 10, or 15, that points may be taken out for the final grade.
So that'd go in the syllabus.
So, it could, but even this is enough. This is gonna be an official policy. We're gonna add it to the handbook. You know, it's gonna be in there. We're gonna communicate it to students. You know, every opportunity that we get. I'm gonna set separate times. I've asked students already to come and see me if they have questions or problems. IDP students, I'll meet with them separately. So, you know, we're not gonna leave any stone unturned, basically. So we're gonna do our due diligence there. What else? So again, that leaves it up to you, you know, it leaves it up to you for now. I saw in some of the policies that for San Antonio, the faculty are working on it right now, like having a standard. If you did this, then it's 10 points off, or it's 5 points off. So I don't know if we wanna go there.
With all due respect.
Yes?
If we don't, first off, I agree with my learned colleague. It has to be in the syllabus, and there has to be a definitive amount, because when they're brought in front of the SPCC, or the honors, or the committee to kick them out, or to give them an F, they're gonna go to the North Campus, and the North Campus, as usual, is going to see this panoply of different ideas throughout the curriculum, and they're going to overturn it, as they always do, because we have no standard policy. So it has to be the same, period, end of discussion.
Okay,
Does
so.
it have to be the same, or does it just have to be in the syllabus?
In the syllabus.
Yeah, well, it has to be in the syllabus. Well, how can you say, I'm gonna take out 5 points for the same thing that he's gonna take off 20? They'll go to the North Campus, and it'll be kicked right back and say, you're screwed, you don't have a unified policy. Good luck, you can't do that.
Even if both syllabi are crystal clear.
We've had that last year, as a matter of fact.
I mean, I actually didn't put this in here too, but we probably should add it to syllabus, like you should add it in your syllabus that you are using ExamSoft, you know, and to refer to the policy. You know, you
Put it
can
in
refer
one
to
of
the
those
policy again.
paragraphs, we all just cut and paste and don't read it.
Yes, exactly. Well, yeah, we should, so then we might need to revisit that then, the exact number of points. I don't know how.
I would suggest that.
So do we want to take care of that, like, do we want to have another just brief meeting about that, and like after this, or do we want to take care of?
Maybe it's something you can
now?
circulate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't have another meeting because I opened my mouth.
Okay, so I noted that for number 9. So then, on the exam day, each student should be handed a single blank colored sheet of paper and directed to sit in their pre-assigned seats. This is what I was referring to before. Someone told me that, I forget who, that students could plan to sit in a specific seat and then go to that room before, right, and do something,
Oh,
right?
come on.
And does that happen like all the time?
You can't be that naive.
I am so,
You cannot be
I'm
that
telling you, it's
naive.
because I'm a good student.
And do what? What
And-
can they do?
Well, and put something there, like under a
Right
seat or
to the
something.
desk.
See, look at, even Joe with me on this.
Really?
I've never
Paste
had-
an
I would have thought
paste an
that.
index card on the back of
Really?
the seat in front of them, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
It never occurred to me, but like,
Get up and go to the bathroom like the Godfather and look for your gun behind the toilet?
mean,
Look for your crib notes? Absolutely.
Really?
Oh, Joe's.
yeah.
And that's why it's so important for all the faculty of whatever building we're using and so on, to finish on time, because the important thing when you're giving a quiz or a test is, you know, for this kind of thing, get into that classroom and walk that classroom and make sure there isn't this stuff hanging and hiding.
Wow.
You know, and so if the person before me is taking up until 2 minutes before the hour,
Oh, my goodness. I'll throw them as far as I can throw this building, I don't trust them.
And even if they don't do it way ahead of time, they come in with their knapsacks or whatever, and they're fumbling and whatever, and
Yeah.
man, sleight of hand, they're really easy to do that.
Yes.
Leave their knapsack open, and you say, gee, why do they keep looking down at their knapsack?
Mm-hmm.
Why did we tell them that they couldn't wear baseball caps anymore?
I mean,
Because they
one-
were writing answers on the lid of their
Oh,
baseball
my
cap.
God.
One of the school's policies was that they take all of their backpacks and they
And put them in the front of the room.
I wondered why, now I know.
Yes. I mean, and I took that out because people seemed to feel like there wasn't enough room, there wasn't enough space in the room for people to do that, like with all their stuff. I don't know how people feel about it, but, if you're,
I think it needs to be left up to the course director, I
To
think we
decide.
just,
yeah,
need to be, that ExamSoft is not going to solve
no,
everything.
it doesn't, and
I mean, think
they
about
actually
me
say
trying to
that.
give exam at B28.
Yeah,
I mean, is there a worse room on this campus to give an exam?
well,
Yeah.
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 Diefendorf
Diefendorf 203.
Right?
Because
203.
you could, in
Well, yeah,
Diefendorf 2 and
yeah,
3, you
yeah.
get it at
203,
the side
yeah,
and
you're
that's
right.
all.
Yeah,
At least in B28, you can walk behind.
yeah.
But they got plenty of drawers to hide
Oh,
things.
that's,
Yeah. It doesn't, and it certainly doesn't replace proctoring, by any, having proctors and also, is, the more proctors still that you can get would be great, and it seems like we're gonna be there for the midterms and finals anyway, so you're gonna have one quasi proctor sort of in the room,
It's always my
looking for
hope that,
things.
the students that we don't, aren't able to prove, et cetera, that do these things, that they, it's always my fondest hope that they'll crash and burn when they get to the clinical,
Yes, yes.
or to the board exams or something.
There's a guy in New Fame just went to jail. Maybe that was enough.
Wow. Okay, so then I'll add that to syllabus. I just thought of something else that I left out
check
too.
up on that? Is there any way to check up on that? They need
What's
The
that?
people that you suspect,
yeah,
Oh,
get a list of.
well,
Actually, that's how you should fight it.
So I guess, do you want me to take out pre-assigned seating for now and then we can discuss it at a later time?
but I think it would be very useful, seeing as how the ExamSoft can track all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be very useful in classrooms that do, for instance, in, what do I use, Barber or whatever it is, or any classroom that has a number on the seat. I think it would be useful to have somewhere in that
Oh,
record what
which
seat are
seat
they
number?
sitting in.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I did essentially the same thing. I had asked the students to write down
Yeah.
who's sitting on the right and who's sitting on the left. So I could have generated a seating chart had I chosen to.
Last year I took a picture of the class.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I would know who was next to who.
Then now you have to go from a face to a name.
If I needed to, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
That's interesting though, the seat number. Yeah, might be a good thing to add, at least maybe on that green sheet, maybe we add that.
No, as Dan said, the first question on every test, what seat are you in?
Yes.
Diefendorf, this marvelous Diefendorf 203 doesn't have seat numbers.
No, it's flexible seating.
No,
Yeah,
it's got
flexible.
the move
That's
out.
right.
Impossible
Flexible
not to
seat.
cheat in that room. It's like if you move your eyes like this.
Mhm.
They're on top of each other.
It's awful.
I instruct students, if they're really thinking hard, look at the ceiling. Otherwise, I'm getting suspicious. When they start going.
Yeah. That's understandable, I mean. Okay, okay, so then are we on item 10? I guess we are, yeah. So on the day of the exam, the students should be handed a single blank colored sheet of paper and so asked to sit in their seats. Every effort will be made to hand out one sheet, every effort should be made, needs to be made to hand out one to each student. I was gonna ask the department chairs to have someone in their office provide that to the faculty. Just because from what I can tell from other schools' policies, their administrative staff are very involved, at least, for exams, not quizzes. But the scrap paper is intended to do two things. One is to know who is physically in the room, too, just in case, God forbid, something should happen. You gave the password and somebody texted the password to a student, outside the classroom or somewhere else. So that we would be able to identify that with IP number, but not if they were on campus, like right next door in another room or something. So that helps to take care of that, because you physically know who's in the room at the time.
And I would suggest that it's up at the top, it says print name, sign name.
Yeah, print name, sign your name, and seat number. It looks like the way to go right now, right? So I'll create a template, and
Do we have a database with all this?
I don't know. I don't know if we've ever scanned in. I don't know if we've gone.
I don't think they get signatures.
Yeah, I don't know that people actually give us. Are they on the card? Are they on their UB Clinic? I wasn't sure if they sign something when they come in. I mean.
Oh, we have them sign, the
Yeah.
honor code and things like that, so on file somewhere.
We
it's supposed to
have
have
it, yeah.
signatures. We could.
Yeah. Yeah, if it ever came to that, we certainly could. That's for sure.
You keep changing the color.
Yes, and keep changing the color, so, not green for all the ODS exams. One green, one yellow, one blue, one orange. It gets pretty, yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're handing out the piece of paper, they could always be white, and then you just change the fonts of this stuff up at the top. I mean, it's not,
Yeah, I mean,
it's
you
not
could.
hard to.
You could, but then, maybe, I don't know, but I think when I was looking, the green paper really stands out, so you can kind of see it, where they're sliding it and where they're moving it around, just
Okay.
from it helps you to see it better, I think, in the room too, but, let's see. Okay, so then, that's where we ask them to, write their names on the blank piece of paper, hand it in, so, before they leave the room. So again.
What this all says is that we all believe that there's a tremendous amount of cheating going
Yes,
on.
yes, we do. Yeah, I think we do, yeah.
But I'm just,
No,
is
that's
that the
what we're
message you're
hearing.
sending? That's the message
Yeah,
you're sending?
well, I think that's the message the students have told us too. I mean, they're frustrated with it too,
Okay.
that their colleagues would,
I just
yeah.
got an email from the second year class about how much cheating is going on in my class.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have not heard a student complain about the secure environment. I have not heard them say that you're doing this because you don't trust us.
Mhm.
So I think there's a recognition that there's stuff going on.
All right, just so that's documented.
Yes, it is, and it is in the communication meetings too. It's come up a couple of times, we've talked about it.
The students are upset that nothing is being done about it.
Yeah. So number 12, before the exam, tell the students to exit all the programs, especially antivirus software.
Doesn't opening software take care of all that? I mean, that's another layer of skill.
Right.
They need to have, is to turn off their antivirus software.
Well, Dan, do you wanna just mention?
Soft test should do all that for them, but it sometimes gets stuck in the process, and students get very, nervous if the computer sits there looking like it's frozen for 2 minutes while soft test shuts everything off. If they just done a clean restart of the computer, soft test usually starts up much more smoothly, because there's nothing else for it to shut down.
I'm sorry, I didn't even put in here, so shut down and restart,
Yeah, shutting off the antivirus, it's not always obvious
right?
what to do. Of course, once they've done it once, they'll remember how to do it.
So I'm gonna add in shut down and restart, because of course we know that now, basically any problem that you'll come up against, if the student just pushes the power button on their laptop and restarts, it'll bring them back to right back to where they were in the exam. That will solve 90% of the problems. So far, right? Dr. Zeman, have you seen anything else?
Yeah, no, everything's fixed if you restart it, except if they haven't downloaded it to begin with.
Right.
The other thing is, I told them to restart so they get to the screen where you can put in the password, and then if everybody is there, then it goes real fast. So if they restart and they're at the screen to enter the password, you give them the password and they all go.
Yep, and I think I have that in here somewhere. Before the, I have that in the student copy. Yep. The one thing that I left out that I want to add in is that the faculty member should put like, either a PowerPoint or something, like that has the password on it, you know, in big display, so you don't have to keep repeating it. And you should try to have some sort of complex password that somebody wouldn't be able to remember and tell someone else after they left, just in case somebody that downloaded the exam and hasn't taken it, for whatever reason, didn't come to the exam room, then they wouldn't be able to pass that password on. Does that make sense? Kinda, sorta?
You can also tell from the log when they started.
You can tell
Yeah,
from the
so,
log too.
yeah.
It's true, I mean, you can tell in so many ways, really,
Mhm.
but that's a practice that they recommend, is having a complex password, not a simple one. But Dr. Zambon uses clinic and strange
Clever
carrier
words.
diseases. Yeah, that works.
And then you want them to turn off the cell phones. I thought it was to avoid cheating. It's not to avoid cheating so much as it is to minimize the use of the bandwidth.
Yes.
Right, because when they look at bandwidth, students come in with a cell phone, a laptop, an iPad, you know, they use a lot of bandwidth.
Mhm.
So if you have them turn off the cell phones, that reduces the amount of bandwidth that's being used in the room.
You know, we could be more specific, like don't bring your phones to exams on exam days. Is that realistic?
Bad chance, no.
But I feel like powering down is I mean, even in my yoga class, they say, can you power down your phones? Vibrate's not good enough. We want you to shut them off. I mean, come on. It's an exam. It's not a, right? I mean, right? So I feel like, you know, if you say that, remind them again, I think it's good. Everybody, you know, just, it doesn't take that long. Okay, 12. 13, if possible, try to ask colleagues to be additional proctors. So this is what I found out when I talked to the schools that had that sort of all over their documents. They say that, but they don't really have that. So they say there must be a minimum of 2, with 3 preferred, but it doesn't happen. So that's again where department staff are utilized. They have staff come to the, you know, have the paper, bring the paper to the room with the faculty member or for the faculty member, hand it out, and then help them at the end when they're confirming for the students to leave to see the green screen for the final exams. So as I said, I have a chairs meeting coming up and I can talk to them about it. I'll send it out just as for people to be thinking about it and we can talk about it, but does anyone think that will be like some undue crazy burden?
Not for final exams.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should do that
For finals.
And so closely, some people read their job description.
Yeah.
At one of these meetings, someone mentioned that it's not a dental school policy to have staff proctor.
I've always heard that here. I don't know. Some people feel very strongly about it. I think it's whoever the faculty member asks, right? As long as you give direction to that person and you're confident in that person's ability, right?
I think the issue used to be that the students always come in, you know, I have a problem with question number 29. So if they do that with the staff person, they can get nothing. So I think the staff people became uncomfortable being put in that position.
Oh, okay.
But if you tell the students there are no questions about any of the test items, then it's not an issue.
Okay.
And we don't actually say that, do we? That there's no questions during exams? I didn't see it, I don't think, in our handbook, just for
No, I
regular
think
exams.
that's a
another-
difficult course director policy.
Yeah, so.
Which they ignore anyway.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
they ignore
No,
anyway.
I started using it this past year, I think it was, or maybe the year before. Boy, did that simplify my life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because
Feel
of
like-
even door 2 or 3, but it
Yeah. I feel like maybe we should talk about that too, when we talk about the points and the other, maybe reducing the time for
no, you
exams.
just, they go, you just go.
I'll go over and talk to them because then I find out how many questions I have inadvertently duplicated.
You always wanna know what's wrong.
Yeah.
Seeing a lot of people going.
I know one time, did you intend to leave these asterisks over here with these numbers?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-oh. Oh,
A lot
yeah.
of good grades that time.
Wow. Okay, so we're on number 14. Students arrive late to the exam, they should be instructed to end the exam and upload at the same time, at the same end time other students are given, so they can upload before the upload deadline. So again, we sort of talked about this a little bit last time. since we've agreed to, to kind of have a problem room, I don't know if there's some, like, if we don't have students that are having problems in the room right then I'm wondering if we should let late students be admitted at all for exams. I don't know, if this is an opportunity to revisit that too, like on a global scale. How do you feel about people coming in late for exams? Does it happen on a regular basis?
Yeah, I mean, there used to be an issue of, you wondered if they were coming in late because other people were finishing. So I think most people wouldn't let students start an exam after someone's already left.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh.
Right, that sounds fair.
That sounds reasonable.
Because that's pretty late. I mean, even the ones who finish it really fast, you're still talking
20 minutes.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think you give them extra time.
No. That sounds like a good,
So just leave this. Maybe
Yeah.
they come late,
They
they're gonna
just-
end the exam at the same time everybody else.
But if they come so late that people have already
Left.
the room, you wouldn't want that, because then you'd worry about the students talking to each other.
Yeah.
so,
I've seen some places do, 15 minutes. If they come more than 15 minutes late, they can't take the exam.
like that. Well, we saw that they have those punitive sort of things, you're gonna get like 20 points, or something like that, some sort of reduction. So,
I haven't seen that be a problem recently, with students coming
Coming
late.
late.
They may come in a couple minutes late, but I haven't seen them come in, 15, 20 minutes late.
because the student coming in wouldn't know if the students have left already, I guess. I don't know if they're so like, if they're already coming late, they probably don't care and they don't, or it's planned.
Just stand outside the door or out on the sidewalk.
It's a plan. Yeah.
I'm gonna study here for an extra 20 minutes, you tell me the questions where we're gonna come. I'll do the same
So,
thing next time.
yeah. So should we say something like that, like, after 20 minutes, do we wanna give a time limit? Are you guys we can put it out, and I'll send it out again so everyone else can see it, I'll
I'd
highlight
say
it.
15 minutes for an hour exam. If they
Okay.
come in more than 15 minutes late, they shouldn't be admitted for an hour exam. I mean, if it was a 2-hour exam, maybe it's, a half hour. But
Well, let's just leave it at 15 minutes, because we've got this 2-hour block for finals, and it's really a 1-hour exam. Yeah.
Let's see. Green check, okay, so students arrive late, okay. 15, when students are finished, collect the students' sheets of paper and verify that they have gotten to the green check mark before letting them leave the room. Leaving the room without successfully uploading the exam and showing the green check mark is like leaving the room without turning in the exam. So that's, again, for quizzes, not the same, you can allow extended time, but, probably for a final exam, we probably just don't wanna start that, I think, but we'll see. I guess we'll try for semestering, see what people think. Increasing the number of downloads. Should a student need to re-download an exam because their computer crashed after they downloaded the exam and they are now using a loaner, the number of maximum downloads can be increased. And this just gives the steps, again, how to do this. Again, this is covered in the training, but it's just like a little reminder. They also have these quick little videos and interactive things in one-page documents, so that they have the information in a variety of formats. But it's just to let you know that you have control over it. If you're comfortable doing it, you can do it. If you're not, then that's okay. Again, it's something that can be taken care of after, if it disrupts, we don't want your exam environment to be disrupted. Changing the upload deadline. This is how to do that. And so, for example, I don't know, Dr. Zambon, do you want to give, are you a person that goes in there and changes the deadlines?
I did.
I feel like you did, yeah,
Yeah.
like that you're comfortable doing that, so.
Yeah, you don't want to create a new post. That would be bad.
Yes, a new post is like a new exam that everyone then has to again go ahead and download. So what you can do is extend the time. So this is again related to what we talked about having a time limit for the students to be able to download the exam and giving one business day maybe, and after that, with no downloads to sort of see, to confirm that all the students have downloaded it, and then give the students a day to take care of their problem if they have one downloading it. So you can go in and monitor sort of that at any time, just adjust the date and it'll allow more exams in.
But we can somehow see who has and who has not.
You can see,
downloaded.
yes, you can see who has, who hasn't, yep.
You can see when they did it. you
He's
know.
so happy, look at how happy Dr.
I would wake up at 4 and see students downloaded at 3:30 in the morning, so you can see everything.
He used to work at the NSA.
No, but if there's somebody who's, just really out of it, you could actually send them an email.
And I do, right, I mean, there's a way to find out who hasn't downloaded the quiz, and you can send them emails, you just check the box
Yes,
next to their
right
name and
next
send
to
them an
them.
email.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep. And also, when they download and when they upload an exam, they get an email that says you successfully downloaded your exam and you successfully. Yeah, no, that's okay, I'm just so everyone knows that, like, they get like a bunch of notifications. Okay, so then before the, we go to the students, these are just some basic, questions that the faculty were asking at San Antonio about troubleshooting. He said he would get these so many times that he just put them in here for people who wanna be able to, troubleshoot on their own. So these are some of the common problems that we've run into, and we've seen these here too. What do I do if a student's computer crashes? Just have them reboot their computer. If they haven't started the exam, then they just relaunch soft test. If the student was in the middle exam, it just picks up right where they left off. And contrary to what students are saying, like, I know that I was always told, like, don't press the power button, it's like the worst thing to ever, it's gonna cause problems with your computer and all that stuff. It's really not the case anymore with the newer hardware and everything. Everything just, it's designed for rebooting. You could reboot every day if you wanted, or, reboot a lot of times without causing any long-term damage to the computer.
And when soft test is running in secure mode, everything else has been turned off anyway.
Mhm.
So it's not like you're shutting down while you have 15 programs running to your hard drive and doing all kinds of things.
Right.
It's basically one
Right.
task.
The next question is, what do I do if a student doesn't see the exam in soft test? So that's where you want to verify that they downloaded it. And then this is the steps for checking the report, to see whether or not they're visible there or not, and then they can click on the tab and then be able to download the assessment. If the assessment's not visible under both tabs, then allow a second download. So that means that there's another problem happening. And again, this is stuff you can check. That one you can check before an exam too. The navigation bar. This has to do, I think, with them answering questions during exams. So I wasn't sure if this was relevant. So I don't know, Dr. Zaman, because you've had the most experience of all of us in the room with giving them. The navigation bar, this has to do with the students' software and soft test.
I have seen that happen occasionally.
Mhm.
Normally that bar does update in real time and shows that you've answered the questions, but occasionally you can get in a state where the navigation tab is sort of selected, but you still see the question tab, so the question tab doesn't actually update. And that's where you flip back and forth between them to get the status to update properly. But we saw that once or twice over the summer, where it just wasn't updating, but you could see that the alarm tab was actually selected, but was showing the navigation tab, so the navigation tab didn't really update until you flip back and forth.
So if they click on these tabs, I guess it'll help to,
So if someone panics and says, oh,
help
it's
it
not
update in
updating,
real
it's not
time.
taking my answers, you just
Yes.
flip back and forth between the tabs.
And again, we
Trying to
just,
tell you something.
right.
Figure it out.
What if I do if a student can't upload the
Must be the
exam?
wrong answer.
What do I do if a student can't upload the exam? Just wait a little, literally. The students are like, so, oh my God, my exam's not uploading. Sometimes it just takes a few seconds for it to reconnect between the yellow screen and the green screen. The yellow screen is the screen they get that says, okay, you're leaving your exam. You're ready to upload your answers now. So sometimes, there's a little bit of a timeline. So you click upload now. If that doesn't work, click upload later or manual upload. The students will receive an email stating that the upload failed and with the instructions on what to follow, and that happens automatically. How do I accept exams that have failed to upload after the upload window has closed? So this is where you go and control the upload deadline. So you can change the upload deadline. The thing you should be aware of is that you should only use it in special cases, because then everyone else who didn't upload, that opens the floodgates for everyone else to upload also. So not just a singular person. But then you could control the time too. You could just give it a 5-minute time or something like that, and then it would open and close again. So.
But presumably the student's gonna be right there in front of
Sitting
you.
in your office and you give
Yeah.
them 30 seconds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so, wow, this is really way longer than an hour, I'm sorry, but I feel like it's so important, I don't wanna slight it, and after I send it out, we might even wanna have another one for faculty to just, the people who weren't able to come. So this is what we're gonna give to the students. Students have to come to the exam, having downloaded it. No downloads are allowed at the exam.
But you're setting it up that they still got 10 minutes.
We are, but again, we would know who downloaded it if they went past the time, so after this, we could send them a note after that says, that we know this, and that, we can come up with something else more if we want, or we can just say no downloads and set it strictly at that time. This is just what they recommend. We don't have to abide by it.
ExamSoft recommends this.
Mhm. And the other schools I've talked to too, it's in their best practices, that they just don't wanna allow. Because there's two big problems, with the exams. One is they haven't downloaded it, before they come to the exam. And, the other one is that sort of, the deep press, the power button problem, like if their exam freezes during the exam. Those are the two things, and so just by doing that right there, you eliminate like 90% of your problems. Yeah, again, we don't have to do it, we can try it this semester and see how it goes, if we find that people are really, I think if we stay on top of them and we're emailing them and we're,
Well, if you put this in.
mhm. This should be
a
enough.
student thing.
Right,
And then
right,
in my exam, they can't upload it, the deadline is 10 minutes before class starts.
mhm,
Then they've got no comeback to me, right?
right.
Okay.
And Dr. Zambon, you've tried it both ways, but like you said, there's still students that haven't uploaded, and we
Yeah.
haven't given them a penalty, but I added a penalty in here.
I kind of get the feeling if you hold their feet to the fire, they're going to do what they're supposed to do. So on Tuesday, I had one student didn't download it. I have two students say they were having problems and they wanted paper. I said, I don't have paper. I didn't bring any copies. Both of them took the quiz online and submitted it. So even though they wanted the paper, they were still able to take it online. So I think if you hold, if you're holding.
Had those two
They had
downloaded.
They had downloaded it, but they came to me and said they were having problems, and it may have been a restart kind of thing.
Mhm.
And I said, I don't have paper, and they went back and they worked it out, and they submitted their quiz, and,
Yeah.
So I think if you're, if you say this is the way it is, they will adjust.
Well-
So with all due respect, what did you do with the dipstick that didn't download?
He had a special problem.
There.
I think,
They all have some.
well, I think his computer crashed after he had downloaded it.
He had updated
Is he
his
the class
software. I
president?
don't know if it was his virus protection software. It was he updated something, to the point where like ExamSoft periodically confirms that a student is who a student says he is by having them like go through a confirmation. So
Yeah, the registration, so ExamSoft just apparently.
it thought it was a different computer and it wanted to make sure, oh, it's the
Right.
same computer.
Yes.
So it was preventing the student from downloading, and Dr. Zambon had right at 8 a.m. to stop the download or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And so this was happening like right at 8:01, say, he remedied his problem.
This is not a kid who had downloaded
No.
it 2 days in advance.
Yeah.
He was down, because I had been tracking this,
Mm-hmm.
and he was the last one to download it. And he waited until the end, and then he had a problem.
Yeah, and then what we did is he just sat there. He didn't do any, you told him that, right, there you had no paper copies. He just sat there, and then because the download time had passed, he couldn't download it. So after, he emailed Karen Miller immediately after that and said, I'm so upset, you know, I wasn't able to take the quiz, and, you know, I'm really upset about it, and I had prepared because I did so poorly on the first one, and blah, 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 all this stuff. So then Karen said, will you talk to him, And I said, sure, let me talk to Dr. Zambon. I don't know if you know what happened, and Dr. Zambon had given me his name, so Dr. Zambon and I agreed that we would have him take the test electronically if we could, and my goal was to bring him in and have him call support right there and find out what the problem is, why he couldn't do it. And so that's what we did. And then, you know, I extended the download time right there. I had him download it, had him take it, and that was it. I mean, I sat there with him, he took it, he submitted it, and what did he get? He got like an 100 on the exam, you said, right? So, a quiz, but yeah.
No, it was at lunch. It
Yeah.
was at lunch.
Was it?
So you didn't go over the quiz in class?
Hmm?
You didn't go over the quiz in class?
Did not, no, I don't do that, because then they start yelling at me. So I don't go over quizzes. I wait for the emails to come in.
Now, actually, that's another feature too that they have. They have the rationale feature. So for every question, you can direct the student, you know, say you missed this, you probably want to review this, this, and this, or, you know, whatever it is. And then if you release the rationale, you don't have to release the questions. That way they know the subject areas without knowing the question, because really, who's gonna ever ask them the exact same question that you asked them as a dentist, or, right? Well, yeah, yeah.
So we have so many ways to ask certain things.
But Dina, I will guarantee you that we have faculty members who are getting the same exam that I took when I was here in 1974. I will guarantee that.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I do have them from a few years ago from the accreditation, so I was curious.
I will
We have them in paper format still, so.
Well, seriously, I mean, there really is only,
Locked up.
there's only so many ways to ask
I know.
basic information.
I know.
You change a tooth number, you know,
Yeah.
it's like.
Eli is very
Yeah.
generous. Right
Never
there.
Academy has been the same
That's right.
before.
I'll take that back. Dr. Kaufman isn't here anymore.
Is this? How many husks does this student?
Okay, so do we wanna say no paper copies will be provided? Do you wanna take that leap? No, Jill
No, I
says
think it
no.
would always be.
We
and
can.
Something, you know, something is always going to happen.
But you
What
understand that
time
it's
it
kind
was.
of difficult to do
Right.
this.
No, I understand. No, I
Because
understand.
you print to the screen the paper copy, but then you have to go in and you have to edit it.
Mm.
You know, it takes some time to do that.
No, I understand.
Oh, the paper, you
Yeah.
don't,
In order to create a paper quiz,
Mhm.
you have to, at least I have to go through some manipulations of the
oh, do
the
you?
Microsoft Word file.
Oh, don't use there's a print button right in there.
No, I know,
Oh.
but what I
Please.
get is not what I wanna give them.
Oh, I see.
Okay,
I
so,
see.
so then it's like this last time I had pictures, so then I had to insert the JPEGs into the Microsoft Word file, so and that took a while.
Yes.
That takes some
It
time.
just doesn't look the same.
And,
Right, yeah,
and now you print one and two guys wanna take it.
That's right.
Or you print two and three guys.
that's what'll happen.
Yeah.
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 Well, I guess we're, well, like, if we're gonna do it, then just do it, no paper copies. That'd be, you know.
Yeah,
My husband used to do
That's all, but-
And again, it's for
He goes,
exams, like it's not for quizzes.
Yeah.
That's number 3 here.
Yeah.
Well, there'll always be that
This wasn't
room,
even
right, that you
exams,
go
though.
to
It was
during
just-
the exam.
Not a problem.
Yes.
There'll always be help.
There'll always be, right,
Okay.
like a problem room, right,
Okay.
where they can come, we can,
You can help.
yeah.
Okay.
Can we send problem students?
And also, I mean, we'll have backup, like we said, we'll have computers with us, but we don't really want them to know that. We want them to be accountable for making the arrangement and, you know, hope that they will, and then we should get to a place where we won't have to do that anymore. And we don't charge them for backup computers anymore, so we don't really we have older computers on hand, I mean, so we would literally just bring like 2, right, Dan? Maybe a Mac and a Windows one.
Yeah, generally it's all Macs because that's
Yeah.
all the hardware that we bought.
Yeah. So, okay, so we're going with no paper copies. All right. I'll highlight that too, so when I send the document around, people can know what the changes were to this particular copy. Okay, students should run the official mock SDM test, take care of technical troubleshooting issues through ExamSoft customer service. Oh, The copy that I printed actually has the phone number in there and the email address. I don't know why this must be a copy I printed out like 2 seconds before where I didn't have it. Through ExamSoft customer service before coming to the exam, password for the mock test is mock. So what this is an hour-long exam that's all, with all the different question formats, every different variety I could think of, with instructions in there, and they can download it multiple times. There's no, it's just unlimited downloads for them. And I don't mind if they take it together. I told them to at orientation, I don't mind if you take it together. It's better if you take it together because one person will point out something that maybe you didn't find in this when they're taking the test on the interface. So our goal is to have them in the interface for a long time to get to know it really well. And so this also gives them a mechanism for checking their technical, that their computer is running the way that it should be. So that's what that does. And I told the first year class, because they haven't had any experience at all, that I would put some quizzes in there too that are of varying lengths, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, then a half an hour, then just so they can get used to, what a full hour exam, to build them up. And they seem to be fine with that. They didn't really have a lot of questions about it, so, excuse me. This is, number 3 is about the specific computers. If there's a problem, it's the student's responsibility to address the issue before coming to the exam, including getting a loaner replacement and downloading the exam to that computer. If the student gets a loaner replacement computer but has already downloaded the exam quiz to the broken computer, the student needs to notify the faculty and request a second download of the exam to be placed on the loaner computer. It's the student's responsibility to keep track of time by referring to the timer on the computer.
Maybe you want to make that a separate
I had it as separate, but then I thought, if they're gonna read one, that's the longest thing. If they're just gonna go to one thing, that's the one that I want them to know.
Okay.
But I can separate it. I think too, I was trying to keep it to one page. There's also, I already went over anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I don't have to worry about it. I can separate it out. I can make it a new item number. Okay. It's the student's responsibility to contact ExamSoft support. Oh, there it is. I did put it in there. I guess I put it there, but I was reading it up here. I was thinking it should go up there. So I'm going to mention it twice because I think it's so important. It should be in there twice about contacting support. So I'll add the email and the phone number to question number 2 at the end too. To follow the technical troubleshooting issues. So it's their responsibility to contact. I could put the hours up too, but I just don't know if maybe they'll change them because they've changed them already. They added Saturday hours when they didn't have any. So, and number 5, 1 colored blank sheet of paper will be assigned to each student upon entering the exam room. Each student must put their name on the paper and turn it in at the conclusion of the exam. Failure to turn in the sheet may result in a loss of points. That's how I left it, so now here's where we want to.
Now, didn't you do that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As we're transitioning from one mechanism to the other, should everybody be just doing that anyway? Regardless of whether you're using ExamSoft?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, part of the idea was that they have scrap paper. And that
yes.
was something that came out of the survey that we did at the end of the early fall, when the students were commenting about ExamSoft. And it's the kind of the same thing on the national board when they go to Prometric, they give them a sheet of scrap papers. So part of it is a sheet of scrap paper that they can write stuff on, and part of it is the idea that you have their name so you can document they were in the room.
So it serves it. That dual purpose, but then again, if they don't turn it in, do we want to just say, do we want to give a point value off? Do we want to start with something? Failure to turn in the sheet may result in a loss of points, or do we just want to say you're going to get a 10-point deduction, like if you don't turn in your...
How about they fail the exam?
How much failed?
Well, can do that.
I'm the hanging judge, what do you know? You know me. I have, you know where sympathy is in my dictionary. You know the 2 words it's located between.
Well, we can say that.
Because that's the proof that they're in the room, right?
Yes,
I mean, that's
yes,
critical,
that's big,
right?
that's big.
There's no other proof that they were in the room.
Right, yeah.
Unless
so-
you took a picture of them.
May result, or I could say will result to be more definite, will result in failure of the exam.
Well, yes.
In 0 points.
Jeannie, you took still photographs or did you take a video?
Yeah, I had my iPad and I could reverse the camera, so I looked.
Yeah? Yeah. So you
And then
took-
I was trying to be
section.
unobtrusive so they wouldn't know I was taking a picture, but then I saw people looking, what is he doing?
And
And
you
then they
didn't
claimed
get,
they were Amish and they objected to
Yeah.
doing that.
and you didn't get any flack.
No, because most of them didn't realize what was going on. Yeah,
I was going to call over to the provost's office and ask if that,
if
that would be a violation of something. Of a student's privacy in any way, or, I mean, it's just for that, but I just wanted to make sure that it's okay to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, how about doing that, because
Is
that's
that, that would be
great
good
idea.
for you to do, yeah, take.
That's why I think the signature as well as the printed name is important.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see.
I think it's important too to make sure that someone hands it to them as they walk in the
Yes.
door.
Yeah.
Because then they'll go to their seat and come back.
No,
And say, "Oh, can I have a
they
sheet
were
of
all
paper?"
sitting and I
And they
went
could
through and
already
I
have
handed
gotten
it all out.
Yeah.
And they were numbered,
Mm.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, I numbered those
Yeah.
when I gave you yours, so, numbering, printing, signing, and seat number so far. Okay. That's good. Okay, so failure to turn in the sheet will result in,
The student coming in with a
yeah,
panic.
failure to exam.
Multicolored.
Which color today, right?
That's why Scott's answer is better, just change the font.
Yeah, or put a border around
Change
it, or
the
do something
italics,
different.
put a border,
Yeah.
underline, do something
Yeah, see,
different.
but then
Put
we're
it
running
print-
things through the copier and it's just.
I know.
Yeah,
it's a waste.
yeah.
It's just-
Hmm.
But it's not taking a lot of carbon.
Okay, students, number 6, students must report to the exam at least 10 minutes before the exam. I added this, they should sit every other seat, have their clinical photo card or something.
Yes, I would love that.
Have you ever
If
been
you
in
could-
Diefendorf 2 or
if-
203?
Yeah, if room,
Even the smaller ones
I could put-
downstairs.
There is no
they can't
place.
sit
There's
every
no
other
place?
seat.
There's no place.
yeah, 147.
110 students. I don't think even there, they can all fit every other seat.
You know, but the only place that would fit would be Butler Out.
Well, then I could say it's the faculty member's prerogative to move people around, because that's what we did, and people
we
were
do that.
shocked.
Yeah, we
Do you
do
do that
that.
anyways?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
then if you do that anyways, I don't need to mention it, okay.
And
So, I'll take that out, to sit every other seat, that's
Yeah.
me, because I don't, yeah.
and the photo card, I don't know.
Do they have, I mean, if you have staff there helping you, I don't know, would they know all the students? I just wanted to,
No.
The faculty don't.
We don't know.
well, that's what I mean, but I don't know that you check it now.
Yeah, I mean.
Do you check it now? You don't check it now, but so do we want to have them? Now, there might be an opportunity to.
Oh, wait, in the old system with those bubble
They do it for
sheets-
undergrad, so they gotta be used to
With the
it.
bubble sheets, they had to put their number
For a
on
D
it.
number?
But
Is there, because everyone has a UBIT card or what did we call that, Dan, the UB card?
No, it's just this Archie's little clinic ID badge, which you would not have if you were just a generic UB student, so that would be more obvious that, okay, this is actually a dental, someone who at least got the ID badge from a dental school student might. If the photo was 6 years old, it's from your early undergraduate days, it may look nothing like you.
yes.
So I could say UBID card, just to have something, I don't know. Does everyone, nobody wants it? We don't have to have it.
I don't want to check that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, because I was reading it and I'm like, on your person sounds weird. Have your card on your person. In a visible location, it sounded dirty and bad. Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, how am I gonna write that? Okay.
Can they be in the room 10 minutes before the exam?
Posting their
For
answers.
for an 8 o'clock test, yes, for a 1 o'clock test, yes.
For a 2
anything in
o'clock.
between, no.
Yeah.
I could say wait outside, 10 minutes before and wait outside.
How can you do that?
Well, because
if
They won't be
she's
there.
giving her 9 o'clock thing in Windy and the kids are in Kimball, she's lucky she gets them there.
Again, this is only for finals.
Okay,
This is for finals only. I
Okay.
can put before a final exam.
okay.
Although I mentioned
okay.
quiz in here too every now and then,
Yeah.
so maybe
Yeah.
So make it clear it's like final exams.
so final exams.
Mhm.
Midterms and finals, or just finals?
You can't
No,
do
'cause
midterms
midterms
either.
can be no different, because it's gonna be
They're
during
regular
class.
classes.
They might be,
Usually,
yeah.
Midterms are trickier.
Okay.
But it is important to differentiate the quizzes because
Okay. Okay. Number 7, this I just added in because food or drinks are not allowed at examination. Students will not be allowed to exit the room and return for any reason. Plan accordingly.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Can't do that?
No.
You can't say that.
Well, they have to leave, right? I'm not going to, deal with,
Well-
accidents.
Well, then, well, but can't I just say?
Students are responsible for cleaning up their own
I mean, really? Do people really do that in an hour-long exam? They have to go to the
Yeah.
bathroom? Are you
Well,
kidding me?
also you get kids who are sick, who have GI upset for, maybe because they're scared.
Or they've been up drinking coffee all
Yeah.
night, so
Yeah. I mean, it's not too many kids, not too many students do that. The national board, when it was written, they would allow them once in I think a 3-hour period to go to the bathroom.
Yes.
That was written into the rules.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, so what are they gonna do when they have to go to take the exam? When they have?
Now that it's online, I don't think they get to leave at all, I think.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. Why do we want them to leave at all? It's only an hour.
Well, it could be 2. I mean, it could be a
Yeah.
2-hour final.
Could be.
Yeah.
So take it out or leave it in? What's the verdict? Who says leave it in? Nobody. Okay, then we will take it out.
they have to leave their paper and
Well, the food or drinks, I agree with that.
Mhm.
Yes.
Leave the
Okay.
food or drinks part.
Okay. So I'll take out students, everything else then after that.
When we're doing our practicals, I make them give me the tooth if they have to leave.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Why do you say wow? Go look at the 1978 book. Look at the yearbook.
Really?
With one of the candid pictures, one of my classmates is on there with a faculty member, and the caption was, "This is the answer that Rick put down. Does it look right?"
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Who was that? Was that you, Joe?
No, that was after my time.
Okay.
That was well before your time.
Number 8.
Sorry, can I ask a question? Do you have them do anything with their phones? Do you have them give you their phone, or leave their phone?
Right here, I just put it there, number 8, that they have to power off their phones. I don't know what you do during a regular
But I
exam
mean,
now.
if they have to leave, I always worry about that. If they leave with their phone, they can just go look up the answer and come back in, right?
Oh, yeah, I guess that's another.
Wasn't there some school that collected the cell phones?
Yes, collected the cell phones and had nothing, like, they either collect the cell phones or they ask
All
them
the
to leave their
backpacks
stuff.
were at the front of the
in the
room, they
front.
collected the cell phones.
Yeah.
It might have been Tufts again, where apparently the problems are rampant.
I mean, I think I'm more concerned for those few students that leave. I don't really care. I mean, I think hopefully they can watch the rest of the class, but should there be some language about if you have to leave, then you have to surrender your phone or, leave your phone?
Yeah.
Right, because you also
Okay.
want to tell them to hide their exam, there's a button to hide the exam screen.
Okay.
So no one can look over their screen and to leave their sheet of paper behind.
And leave their phone.
Yeah, and leave the phone.
Oh, we don't wanna give them too many ways to get out of the room,
Yeah.
because then they'll take advantage of that.
If you have to
So
leave.
I think, I think.
For medical.
Either that or
No,
set up
but-
a metal detector and hire TSA screener.
No, I think in the faculty version of these,
Mhm.
I think you put that information in the faculty, that if a student really needs to leave the room,
Okay.
request that they hand over their telephone and tell them to, whatever it is on their screen before they, or actually bring the computer up if they can, if they're not plugged in. Bring it up and then press the magic button, and then when they come back in the room, they can pick up those things.
In the old national board exam, when it was written again, they had, you can leave the room once. You may not call anybody, you may not use a cell phone, may not consult notes when you're out of the room. I'm not sure how they enforced that, but it was part of the policy.
It's in a drone.
And in fact, part of them leaving the room is getting up and looking at everyone else's tests as they pass.
As they walk by.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so one way they have is to bring the computer up, bring the phone up, and then when they come back in the room, they sit in the front of the room.
But remember, all the questions are randomized. So and even within questions, sometimes you can randomize the answers.
Yeah.
So there's no guarantee that the question he's looking at has the same answers as as the other students.
And what we might want to do next, the next academic year is require them also to purchase a privacy screen, like for whatever their laptop is. so they have their own confidentiality screen that just.
So we
that-
can't get a single room
Unless we wanna-
that'll go every other seat. How
Not for
difficult,
110.
No, I
how
think the only place.
difficult would it be to get 2 rooms? So you could put them in every other seat.
It wouldn't be difficult to get 2 rooms,
But then you need 2 proctors.
but then,
Yeah.
yeah,
But we wanna go, well,
right.
with your policy, we've got 4 proctors now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we
I don't
could.
know how hard that is at exam time. when,
We did, I already had Denise reserve for the people that I know are using ExamSoft for their midterms and finals, an extra, like for whoever's in Wendy, or, you know, whoever will be seated in Wendy for their final. Immediately get me 111, 112, you know, whatever is right around there, so that we can, you know, bring 10 other students, you know, bring them immediately out. And that worked out well for the
Yeah.
exam, actually.
Yeah, doing it that way, then you could seat them every other seat.
And they were actually at a flat table like that, you know, a long flat conference table, so they were pretty far apart from each other too.
Well, I read one paper somewhere where 5 feet is not enough,
Yeah.
but anyway.
Yeah, but the privacy thing, it would be good.
Auditorium seating is also bad.
Yes. That's why if we had
Again,
the,
even if you just look up, you're
Yeah.
right, looking at somebody's screen.
I know, I didn't think about the screens before, to be honest with you, so if I would have, I would have put it with the exam, you know, with the ExamSoft rule in there that we were just
Are your
adding.
eyes good enough to read a screen that far away?
No, I mean, I could see it, I could probably see a picture, but I can't read.
Yeah, so
Very small.
if the distractors are randomized,
Mhm.
and I see
Still doesn't
that
help,
the
right.
second one has been checked, might not do me any good.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. Now, sometimes you can't randomize the answers, you know,
If
if you
they're-
do,
yeah.
all the statements are true, first is true, you know, you can't, sometimes you can't.
Yeah,
But
and-
sometimes, a lot of times you can,
Yeah, it's sort of none of the above, it's gotta go last.
yeah.
Okay. So there's 10 minutes of, oops, have we gotten to that one yet?
So that's.
Actually, you're
next.
past that one, really.
Wait,
Oh, no, yep, this is for students, so this is the student copy of that. So we will add into that, to the faculty side about that. Students have to power up their phones, have soft test input before, okay, so they have soft test running on their computers, ready to input the password before exam time. I could add restart their computers there, Dan. Power up their phones. I could actually have, I could have things separate now. I was trying really to get it, hard to get it on one page, and now I don't have to, so I can put that cell phone on a separate line too. And then I can also have them restart their computers, quit all their applications, and ready to put the password in.
Well, do you wanna put down that they have to power off all electronic devices?
Yes.
Not including the computer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you said.
Why don't you restart it again afterwards?
They shouldn't have any other device.
All extraneous,
I know.
well, yeah, but you know,
Yeah.
like you said. God
Yeah,
knows what
laptop
they're gonna
or,
do.
iPad.
Which incidentally, I didn't mention that, but we don't have iPad capability. We didn't buy it for soft test. So that means the students can only use a notebook computer. They can't access with an iPad. So any student that's trying to access with an iPad won't be able to do it.
I wouldn't be surprised if they've already tried, but they'll just get a screen that says, no, your institution doesn't support
It doesn't, you're right.
They sent around a demo version over the summer, it actually looks very nice.
It's much better, but it wasn't good at all when we piloted, that's for sure.
The security is a
Yeah.
huge problem, you have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops to get a secure exam to run on an iPad. You have to turn on all the disability features and set all kinds of permissions.
It's not, wasn't worth it.
If you see a student looking at an iPad, then they're not taking the exam.
This, yeah, they're doing something else, right.
It just occurred to me, since this is the student version of this policy or whatever, I've read somewhere when we were making an effort to improve our syllabi, that when something is for the student, rather than saying the student is late, if you are late, number 11, you know, like personalize all
Oh, I
of these
see,
things.
yeah. Mhm.
If you are late, you must do this. You must show the exam proctor the green check mark, you know, before you leave the room,
Mhm.
et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. That's a good idea. Yep.
I think it's,
Yeah.
I think it's,
Good.
take some of the edge off.
Yeah.
Well, it definitely makes it sound more personal. It's your responsibility. It's not some
Yes,
student's
it's not students, right, right.
responsibility.
It's good. It's a good point, thank you. Okay, so students needing accommodations must report to their specially assigned exam room 10 minutes before the exam. Is that okay?
For exams, for finals, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want me to put, I can put final exam on the top and everywhere where I say exam?
Yep.
Right? So I'm sending to you. So final exams attempted to be uploaded after the upload deadline will not be accepted.
Well, how
Final
about,
exam.
when you mean final exam, say final exam?
Yes.
And when you mean anything, say midterm or final exam.
Mhm.
So, because we live in,
Or the course director just announces,
That,
for
yeah.
the, even for this quiz, I am following the directions about
This.
the final exam.
Okay. If the student is late, his or her exam will end at the original exam end time, typically 5 minutes before the scheduled exam end time. No extra time will be given, and the exam must be uploaded before the upload deadline. Student is late. Okay. Is that clear, you think? Or not so clear? I can take out that little thing about the 5 minutes before the scheduled end time, but,
Yeah, I would.
okay,
Yeah.
just to make it.
Yes.
Just get it to me words.
Okay, might be extraneous there. Okay, no extra time will be given and the exam must be uploaded before the upload deadline.
Mhm.
Number 12 is a picture of the green screen, because I saw that a lot of people were coming up with yellow screens and then they were having to wait and congregate, and I didn't think that was a good idea, so I just wanna show them that they have to show the green screen when the yellow screen
What is the
comes.
yellow screen?
The yellow screen tells them they're at the end of the exam and they've turned it in and now they're ready to upload. So either one of those tell you that they're sort of at the end, but the green one is really it's all green, I mean, you can't miss it, this screen is like screaming.
So why do I have to check 110 numbskulls? Now, what are you gonna do with people with red-green color lines? I mean, I'm being mean.
Well, it's okay if it was, well, I could say,
Hopefully they can read the giant word congratulations.
Yeah,
Next to the
right,
giant
yeah.
check mark, and that will give them a little bit of a clue.
oh, yeah, that's a good,
Or
well,
if they're late
actually,
for their next exam.
the green, well, yeah, really.
People can slip up without showing it.
Do they know red by now if they've always, they don't, yeah, they don't know that.
I mean, they can fake what they think the colors are.
Yeah, wow.
so, in the first place, why would a student want to leave
I'm saying this.
before they do this?
Before they see the,
Because
before they see the
exam
check mark in the
shuts
big
off
box.
5
Right.
minutes ahead of time.
Right, right.
So they're done answering questions.
Mm-hmm.
Why would they want to leave before they get ready to be
Well,
examined?
I haven't taken the training again, but it seems to me, from all that I've heard, they could walk out with their laptop still open, the exam has ended, they can't do anything more with it, but they're letting it churn while they're walking out of the room to go to their next class, or to go to lunch or something.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's-
And I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, but they can't do anything with it.
Right, I mean, the bigger danger is if they leave before the exam is timed out, then they can open it back up and go in and continue answering questions. And you can see that in the log, but then you have to know to look in the log to see, oh, the computer went to sleep and woke up again.
So what do you do with that student who finishes in 20 minutes?
Then you need to see the green screen, I think.
Yeah.
There's the
It's, again, you
So
gotta use
does
the period.
Muhammad go to Muhammad, or does Muhammad go to Muhammad?
Right.
We
So
positioned
in that
ourselves at the
front
exits,
end,
so then they
when
walked up and they
30
showed us the
finished,
screen and they handed
then
in the
you
colored
don't
sheet of
really-
paper.
Right, and
Just make sure you get paid.
if a few slip by, you just have to contact them in fact and say, I didn't get your upload.
Yeah, okay, okay.
But you know to close out the exam.
And we had it in the paper anyway, so.
Right.
Right.
So Some of the schools were doing random audits of the logs, just to check to see if there was stuff going on that they didn't suspect. So they didn't routinely look at all the logs, but they kind of did it on a periodic basis to see.
So again, my assumption is you had a person posted at each door, or they had to exit by
Yeah.
a specific door.
Yes, that's
We
right,
tell them.
yeah, yeah.
Well, and I think too, that's something you should put up in the room, like in the PowerPoint slide, like as they're coming in. You know, I think, you know, you wanna have 3 things. I would put, you know, power down your cell phones or turn them off. I would put, you know, shut down, restart your computer, don't open anything else, be at the soft test screen, ready for password. And then you would put something like, after the exam, you're going to leave from this room. If you have multiple exits, then just tell them what they're supposed to do. And then you can have the password up there too. I might even put that on a separate screen with just the password, so when you're ready, you can have, because you can have it all on one screen and have it video mute, but then the benefit would be that when they come in, they're already doing these things. And they, you know, we can remind them again too, submit your green paper. I can give you guys just a PowerPoint slide that has these 5 things in there, and then you can change it.
It's a good idea.
You know, that way. Then it's all the same, and, you know, you don't have different fonts, different anything, it can all just be. Okay, successfully upload, okay, so then, that's why I say it's the student's responsibility, it's your responsibility to do. So the last item, number 13, on occasion, an exam, not and, may be downloaded to your computer and not taken. Oh, see, you can tell I typed this in. I didn't copy and paste it from the other one. In this instance, it is expected that students will complete a reverse download, returning the exam to ExamSoft, following instructions that are provided. Failure to do so within 1 week of the request will result in an exam policy violation, which will be reported to the Student Progress and Promotions Committee. So now that addresses the fear that may exist that students will be able to tamper with the final exam. If it's, you know, oh, they downloaded my exam, but they didn't take the exam, so it's just like sitting on their computer. You know, there is a way technically to have them go through the steps to recall it.
We can.
Yes.
We can take them back without the students doing anything.
We
I
can.
think that's a new feature.
We
that's
can take them
coming.
back.
So the students don't all have to do this reverse download.
Well, you know what, when I read that ping and release, that's not what it was. It's so that you have to be connected to the internet then, and I didn't know if we want to introduce that. I just read it again last night.
Make sure you can't open an exam a second time. So you couldn't have a situation, unless the student knows how it works, and they disconnect from the internet before they decide to do it. But they have to hit the internet in order to get released, right? So I think it would work. So if the student was really devious,
I wanna try
they
it.
could download on their computer, and then their computer breaks.
I want to try it.
You
Let's.
went and download a second time on a loaner computer, but then now they got the exam with the password on their first computer. So they could go home and open it up, delete all the questions, take pictures of the screen, that sort of thing.
Okay.
And if they were off the internet, well, that computer wouldn't be transmitting that data back to ExamSoft.
Yeah.
So they just go in and delete the files and uninstall soft test and everything after they're done. So I came up with that in just the last 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, I was bound to come up with something like that too. But the ping and release, we'll check when they try to start, each time they try to start the exam, well, they haven't taken this exam yet. They're okay to take it. If they have taken it before, it's like, no, you can't open that.
So then I'll add, I just didn't want to put anything without testing it first, and I haven't tested it. But if you're did you? Oh, good, good, okay,
You said
good.
it was a good feature, so
Yeah, I
okay,
said
so
check it
we'll
and,
see.
yeah, check it and so we can try it, yeah, yeah. Is it?
It's actually not too far from
Yeah. Okay. So then, let's see, do the reverse download. Although, do we still want to instill that fear in them, that like they have to do? Do we still want to keep this? We don't have to tell them that there's ping and release and that we are using it. But do we want to?
I would kind of rather do the thing where we take it back.
Okay, so then.
This is not likely to happen very often, is it?
No.
No.
I mean, I don't think so. Because you're only allowing 1 download per student.
I mean, it's good.
And you're controlling that.
One student downloaded your final exam on a computer, but then died out last week, so he was using a different computer. We had to give him a second download. Technically, he could take that first down, he used the same password, open it up. under uncontrolled circumstances.
And I actually wouldn't allow that until, like, unless I told you about it. If somebody came to me and said, you know, if they were trying to go around you and came to me or to Dan, then I would immediately call you and
There's
let you
no
know.
possibility to assign a different password?
You'd have to do different
It's a
posting.
different posting, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Which you could do. Yeah, could do.
That wasn't, they wouldn't actually have, because they already have the copy, that's the first password filled in.
So do we want, because we want to leave that one out?
What do you think, Dan?
Well, they pick the password the next day of the exam. And they want to, now get 2 copies of this exam because you'll have to do a second download.
Yeah, but I mean, they can't look at it ahead of time.
No, they wouldn't be able to look at it.
Now
but could-
they have the password in the exam, you know, to give to some
now they can
fraternity
jump in
brother.
and
Well,
answer
posterity.
questions.
Still on the internet.
Or
Yeah,
something.
2006.
But you're not gonna use the same password again.
No, they just have your
Yeah.
questions and answers. which
Yeah,
is-
right, which is what we're trying to avoid.
Wait, do they have the answers?
Well, no, they don't have the correct answers, but they have the ability to look them up.
Something.
I'd say it might not be bad to leave some version of this. You probably want to walk through and actually try a reverse download to see how it looks before.
Yeah. Somebody had to do it. A student had to do it. I don't know if it was your class.
I don't
Zima,
remember that.
do you remember?
Is that all?
There was one student. I know of her name, but I just
I mean,
don't
that
know.
might be the kind of thing you'd require before getting someone a second
Yeah.
download. Something's wrong with my computer, well, can you do this reverse download first, and then I'll let you know how to do it.
Right.
So when they come to you with a
And you would be notified that that was done somehow?
I'm assuming it's logged.
I would get something, so
You probably have a system administrator.
I would
gets
get something.
notifications of just about
I would know that, yeah.
That it was a reverse download, so
Right.
you would know about it.
So that would be good, so the thing that if you require a different computer, you will need to reverse download
Mhm.
the one from the troublesome computer
Mhm.
before we give you
Mhm.
Yeah, but which means Dan's in there at 8 o'clock doing this, right?
Yeah, it's my favorite time of day. And then you'll have the student whose problem with the computer is it doesn't connect to the internet. So I can't do a reverse download.
Well, then you just ask them to hand their computer over to you so you can check it.
Yes, well, there you go. You bring us your computer.
That's right.
and we'll take a look at it and see if we can't fix it for you while you're taking the exam.
That's right.
Where's my desktop computer? Oh, you weren't supposed to connect it to that one, so you failed.
Okay.
God, we're old and crafty, aren't
Let's see. Is there anything we left out that we can think of? I don't know.
You're gonna
Yeah.
circulate this,
Send it
maybe,
again,
maybe
yeah.
people will think of
Other things.
other things that the students could think of that we couldn't possibly think of.
Okay, so do we think I can send an email and then we can see what
Yeah, I would do
what
it by
comes
email.
back
Yeah.
versus scheduling something else?
Yeah, I would just do it by
You're
email.
gonna start scheduling other
Sessions,
sessions?
yeah, other sessions. I have already dates in September blocked off for that, and I also talked to Dr. Sampson about doing stuff too, so. yeah.
Maybe I'm not devious enough, I can't think of all the things that the students could.
No, I know, it's incredible. I mean, even just what we've been able to come up with here. But that's, I mean, we don't take exams anywhere, we just give them, so that's fine. I mean, you folks do, so. Okay, well, if you think of anything else, let me know. I'll clean this up and send it out.